Thunder Dragon! Thunder Dragon! The Silver Dragon King shook her head. I don't know. After we split, I went to the Douluo Continent. The Golden Dragon King was sealed later. Qian Xunan nodded. Come out. The Silver Dragon King's low growl condensed into focus as her divine consciousness pushed in a single direction. The faint blue mist that had hovered moments ago swelled violently. The world around them seemed to flip. The swamp forest vanished as if erased, replaced by a forest of lightning. The very air braided with jagged, mountainous bolts that slammed down toward Qian Xunan and Gu Yuena. The pressure and explosive power were immediate and overwhelming. Qian Xunan felt it and couldn't help but admire the force. This was lightning of a ferocity he'd never seen before. That admiration lasted only an instant. His own divine consciousness surged outward. The seven-ring halo behind his head flared, and his aura blossomed like a rising sun. Pure, unadorned divine force wrapped him and Gu Yuena, taking the brunt of the thunderous strikes. The barrier burned through his reserves, but not a single bolt pierced it. His eyes narrowed, fierce intent coiling inside them. He lifted his right hand, and a shaft of golden swordlight shot skyward, rending the surrounding lightning. The raven-blue glare around the blade seemed to swallow everything it touched. Thunder Dragon? Still won't submit at my presence? Gu Yuena's voice cut cold. The Thunder Dragon gave no sign of recognition. It roared instead, coalescing huge, deep purple thunder spheres on the horns along its spine. Electrical currents writhed inside them like storm cloud rivers. The very air above turned into a churning thunderhead. Qian Xunan's expression remained composed. Even as a first-rank deity, he was not cowed by this beast, but they were dangerously close to the core. If the Guardians detected them, there would be no easy escape. He glanced at Gu Yuena. It's not under her command anymore. It's being controlled. Gu Yuena's mouth hardened. Then we have no choice but to slay it. Qian Xunan didn't argue. The angelic sacred sword condensed in his hand, its blade spilling an almost painful holy brilliance. He stamped on the void. His figure dissolved and reappeared directly before the Thunder Dragon. The creature reared, lightning cascading off its massive form like a waterfall, attempting to batter him into nothing. Qian Xunan watched the oncoming storm with a trace of disdain. Petty tricks, he said. Light flared around him so suddenly it felt like daylight brought down from another world. Holy radiance washed the 8 directions, and immense power flowed from him. Above his head, an ornate golden orb condensed off its surface, running with sacred light and a divine presence that made the hair on the back of one's neck rise. Countless divine swords began to hum as if greeting a sovereign. Then a column of golden light fell from the heavens and struck the Thunder Dragon with merciless force. Explosions rolled through the void. The Thunder Dragon's roars turned tragic as after every strike, its scales splintered, raw blood and muscle exposed beneath. Even a body as resilient as an imperial artifact could not withstand the onslaught. Hundreds of blows hammered it until its defenses were shattered. 10,000 feet of divine radiance poured down, and for a moment the Thunder Dragon's muddied eyes went blank, as if trapped in some incomprehensible dream. How about it? Still resisting? Qian Xunan's voice carried sharp pride. He let rip a final surge of golden light toward the beast. The Thunder Dragon's spirit unraveled. Its body trembled, then it collapsed and bowed its head in submission to him. Qian Xunan allowed himself a small, satisfied nod and looked at Gu Yuena. Let's go. Gu Yuena inclined her head and stepped with him into the thunder pool. Their forms merged with the electrified water. An invisible force pushed out from the pool's center. They could sense its power intensifying. Wind began to howl. Hurricanes sprouted from nothing, battering them, but neither flinched. Their attention was fixed on the thunder sea ahead. Out of that roiling expanse floated countless sharp swords, their blades blindingly keen, all aimed at Qian Xunan and Gu Yuena, as if waiting for a command. Qian Xunan extended a single finger. Instantly, a torrent of sword chi erupted, an ocean of sword Tao coalescing into a rain of blades that swept toward the Thunder Sea. The swords pierced the Thunder Sea's surface and plunged inside. The pool convulsed. Thunder snakes writhed between heaven and earth, and monstrous sword-shaped scars marred its surface, each line a blaze of sacred light and raw divine force. A cold flash lit Gu Yuena's eyes. She stretched out a slim hand and a frigid, crystalline divine law poured from her palm, freezing the air and binding the lightning with an ice-cold decree that spread across the sky. Qian Xunan commanded, in a voice like a struck bell, "Disperse!" The sword rain scattered at once, leaving the thunder sea tumultuous but intact. Then the two of them dove into the stormy expanse. Inside, the laws of lightning pressed in like a living thing. The elemental pressure gnawed at them, shredding at their skin with tearing pain as if the very airs wanted to strip them bare. They ignored it. A translucent light barrier appeared before them like a woven net, catching every lance of lightning. No matter how fierce the bolt, it died the instant it touched that barrier, extinguished as if meeting a holy seal. They pressed onward through that dim, humming shield, deeper into the thunder sea where even greater trials awaited. 182. God of Pride. When the lightning died away, a massive structure loomed before Qian Xunan and Gu Yuena. A colossal tower, 30 meters tall, rose from the center of the thunder pool. Its stones were carved with countless profound runes that pulsed with a faint milky white halo, an almost holy light that, paradoxically, carried an overwhelming stench of death. The air around it chilled the bone. Every block of that tower was etched with intricate symbols, stars, talismanic script, interwoven patterns that crawled across the surface like living things, as if telling some ancient tale. Each rune radiated a dense, oppressive death aura. At its apex, a black gem flickered with an eerie glow, a lamp in the dark that seemed to be the tower's heart. Standing beside it, one could feel the Grim Reaper's presence pressing in. The air felt thick, every breath like inhaling the essence of death itself. The tower exuded an age-old solemn power, as if it were a bridge between life and death. Approaching it invited danger, the sense that one could be consumed by that deathly force. Guyana stared up at it and murmured, "I can feel it. The Golden Dragon King must be sealed inside." Qian Xunan nodded. "Then let's go in and see." A voice cut through the silence. "Qian Xunan, why are you here? Shouldn't you be on the battlefield slaying the enemy?" He turned to see a man in black robes standing before them, and his features unremarkable except for his eyes, pitches of abyssal black that drew the gaze like whirlpools. This was one of destruction's strongest, the leader of the seven sins, the god of arrogance. He regarded Qian Xunan with disdain. "I've long suspected your loyalty to Lord Destruction," he said. "Tell me, do you intend to betray him?" Qian Xunan met him coolly. "You're here too. Are you planning to betray Destruction as well?" The god of arrogance sneered. "You and I are destined to clash, Qian Xunan. It seems a duel is unavoidable today." His voice laced with contempt, he added, "Don't think I don't know why you came. You came for her." He jabbed a finger toward Silver Dragon King Guiwena. "Very well," he continued. "I've wanted to fight you for a long time. Since fate has brought us together, let's begin." With a low cry, he unleashed a curdling aura. The surrounding space trembled as he strode forward, pressure rolling outward like a tide. The air itself seemed to shiver under the battle fluctuations of two half-step Yuan Emperor-level fighters. Thunder rumbled, oppressive and close. Qian Xunan hung in the air, his body wreathed in blazing light as if standing atop the nine heavens. He raised a palm, and between his hands a ball of scorching crimson flame swelled, radiating a scorching heat that warped the void. Sparks burned in midair. He held the fire with both hands, then sent it surging ahead. The angelic sacred sword at his hip controlled the true sunfire. Fused with the vermilion bird divine flame, it had become even more devastating, an inferno capable of incinerating the sky. The god of arrogance showed no fear. Each step he took unleashed a silent, deathly energy that sought to smother all life. Eerie green demonic currents coiled about him, and he gripped a blood-colored great halberd that shuddered as crimson light descended upon it. The weapon seemed to wake, emitting streaks of lethal bloodlight aimed straight for Qian Shunan's blaze. The two forces met with a thunderous crash. The true sun fire and the blood-charged energy collided, producing a deafening roar. For a moment they locked, neither giving. Qian Xunan snarled, "Shatter for me!" The crimson inferno swelled and suddenly tore through the halberd's energy, unleashing a furious wave that slammed toward the god of arrogance. The impact sent a rippling, world-shaking shock outward. Both combatants were blasted away, slammed hundreds of meters back. The god of arrogance's pupils contracted, He vanished from his place in a blink. Qian Xunan also blinked out, then reappeared elsewhere. No sooner had he appeared than the halberd thundered down toward him from above. The god of arrogance descended like a phantom, driving the weapon in a ruthless strike. Qian Xunan watched impassively. The aura around him shifted, the blue flame that had danced across his form focusing into a concentrated golden beam. It shot forward with blinding speed, meeting the descending halberd. The god of arrogance only smirked, cold amusement at his lips, and answered with a massive, claw-like surge of demonic energy that coalesced in his palm and slammed into the beam. The collision rang like a bell. Qian Xunan's expression flickered with surprise. He had not expected the god of arrogance to so directly withstand an assault of the true sun fire. Yet it was not entirely shocking. He was, after all, the leader of the seven sins. The field trembled again as two titans tested each other, and the battle between them only began to grow more ferocious. Chapter 183, The Great Battle Against Arrogance. Qian Xunan pulled back swiftly, extending his right palm. A roaring current of fire elemental energy poured from his hand and at last condensed into a blazing sun that bathed the void in dazzling light. "Go!" he cried, thrusting his palm forward. The sun rose and crashed into the god of arrogance's blood-red halberd. The impact detonated through heaven and earth. A thunderous boom rolled out. Both fighters were thrown back several paces before coming to a halt. The god of arrogance looked at Qian Xunan with a snort. "You're strong," he said. "Strong enough to force me to use the forbidden power left by the Lord of Death." He spread his other palm. A dark, brownish blood orb hovered above his hand, pulsing with the raw aura of life like a beating heart. Qian Xunan's figure blurred, and he reappeared before the god of arrogance. He clenched his solitary hand into a fist and struck at the enemy's chest. The fist burned with scorching light and a suffocating force, as if it could annihilate everything. The god of arrogance's face tightened. He swung the blood-red halberd in a fierce arc. The clash rang out across the void. Qian Xunan was pushed back 3 steps. The true sunfire he held was utterly suppressed by the halberd's malignant aura, which radiated a corrosive power that gnawed at his flame. Scarlet motes crept along the halberd and found the tiniest gaps in the true sunfire, searing at it. Under that assault, the fire began to crack, though it stubbornly held on, refusing to be extinguished. Qian Xunan's expression shifted. With a sudden wave of his palm, the true sunfire tore free from the halberd's hold and reshaped into a golden arrow. It whistled through the void straight at the god of arrogance. The god of arrogance's face went grave. A bright golden blade flashed into being at his side, so quick it seemed to appear from nowhere, and lunged for his chest. He flicked his wrist. The blood-red halberd swung down and shattered the golden blade in an instant. Like a wind, he surged toward Qian Xunan with terrifying speed. The halberd swept down with overwhelming malice. Space itself trembled where it passed. Qian Xunan roared and lifted his left hand. He condensed the true sunfire in a defensive bloom, unleashing a brilliant wave of flame at the halberd. The flame slammed into the weapon with a dull crash, tearing the blood-hued veil on its surface apart. The golden blaze pierced through and blasted toward the god of arrogance, determined to drown him in fire. Cold light sparked in the god of arrogance's eyes. He slashed the halberd again, and another thick, blood-tinted beam roared forth to meet the golden flame. The two energies collided in a cataclysmic roar, sending ripples of destruction outward. Space cracked under the force. The golden fire fractured beneath that crushing power. The crimson beam wavered but still flew on, striking the great sun that Qian Xunan had formed. The sun detonated. Endless golden light swallowed the void. Qian Xunan felt his body ready to burst under the backlash. He forced a secret technique, deploying true sunfire for defense, but the bloodlight was overbearing, almost invincible. His defenses barely held. When the dust settled, his clothes were in tatters and his body battered and bleeding. "This ends now," the god of arrogance said coldly. His figure flickered and vanished, reappearing instantly before Qian Xunan. The halberd stabbed down with a force that seemed to threaten the firmament itself. Qian Xunan's eyes sharpened. He formed a seal, and a purple-gold rune spun rapidly between his fingers, shedding a blinding light. A sickening crack sounded, as the halberd in the god of arrogance's hand twisted as if gripped by an unseen strength. Under Qian Xunan's control, the weapon began to liquefy and finally melted away in his palm. The blood-red halberd dissolved, and a terrifying aura erupted from Qian Xunan as cold fire flashed in his eyes. He unleashed his twin god fusion. Black and red armor sprang over him, streaked with gold. A red and black god-slaying spear materialized in his hand. Qian Xunan stood transformed, like an infernal war god, exuding a wild, violent aura. His gaze burned, a boundless fighting spirit surged through him. He raised the spear and unleashed an incandescent spearlight that stabbed forward like a second sun. The air convulsed. The god-slaying spear trembled, crackling with golden lightning. Then an unbearable lightning beam erupted from its tip and smashed into the lingering blood-red energy that still hung in the air. The two forces collided with earth-shattering fury. The world quaked, and aftershocks of power radiated in all directions as the chapter closed on their titanic clash. 184. Chihiroan's strength. The god of arrogance was sent flying in an instant. Qian Xunan, grasping the god-slaying spear, stepped through the void. Each stride left a violent ripple of energy in its wake, a terrifying sight that made the scalp tingle. The god of arrogance's expression darkened. He had not expected Qian Xunan's power to be so formidable. Qian Xunan, I didn't expect you to improve, the god of arrogance snarled. Then you must die today. As his voice fell, a surging bloody aura erupted from him. This crimson power was far denser than before, siphoning the surrounding soul energy from the heaven and earth and condensing it into patches of blood-red mist. The mists swirled and thickened behind him, finally coalescing into a bloody scroll. From within the scroll came countless howls of vengeful spirits, their desperate screams echoing without end and chilling the heart. Suspended within the bloody scroll, the god of arrogance held a crimson spear. He looked at Qian Xunan with an indifferent gaze, eyes smooth and unwavering, as if victory were already assured. In his mind, Qian Xunan was a trapped beast with no escape. Crimson judgment! He slammed the crimson spear forward. It tore through the void, and space split with countless fissures that rapidly spread, locking Qian Xunan in place. There seemed to be nowhere to go. Qian Xunan showed no fear. He tightened his grip on the god-slaying spear and charged into the ruptured space, spear flashing like a dragon. Golden lightning snaked around the shaft, roaring like a host of beasts, terrifying to behold. But as the cracks closed in on him, they suddenly vanished, as if evaporating. The god of arrogance frowned. His expression turned grave. Qian Xunan had actually mastered potent spatial rules. Qian Xunan flicked his wrist, and the god-slaying spear burst with brilliant light. Golden lightning surged along it, the spear condensing into a single golden streak that shot through space straight for the god of arrogance's throat. A metallic clang rang out. The god of arrogance's body shuddered and was forced back several paces. Good opportunity. Qian Xunan smiled thinly. He flickered forward, spear blazing, and thrust at the god of arrogance's chest. The god of arrogance's eyes turned cold. He grabbed the incoming spear glow in midair, clenched his fist, and squeezed. No one can save the one I intend to kill, he said, voice like ice. A violent force surged from his right palm into its tip, and a blood-red flame flared along the god-slaying spear. Crimsons licked down his arm and flowed along the spear toward Qian Xunan. Oh, really? A pity I've never known defeat. Qian Xunan snorted. His figure blurred, after-images multiplied around him. Each image wielded a long spear, unleashing a sky full of spear glows, razor-sharp and lightning-fast, sealing off every escape. The god of arrogance vanished from sight. Qian Xunan's brows tightened. A strange, ineffable aura rolled off him, as if his presence were being erased from the world, like the world itself was forgetting him. There was a faint sound, as if breath being lost. Qian Xunan floated like a ghost, eyes fixed and unblinking. Then a thunderous crash sounded. The god of arrogance reappeared from another angle, bearing a blood-red halberd that cleaved through everything. He swung it down at Qian Xunan with murderous intent. A monstrous pressure radiated from the blade, as if it intended to crush existence itself. Qian Xunan grunted and slapped his palm out. A golden spear shadow pierced the air to meet the blood-red halberd. The collision roared like an explosion. That section of space ruptured and collapsed. Countless blood-red energy storms swept in from the void. Undeterred, the god of arrogance pressed his assault, expression unreadable as he advanced to kill. But another whoosh cut through the chaos. Qian Xunan materialized at the god of arrogance's side, the god-slaying spear whipping with a fierce wind as it stabbed toward the god of arrogance's chest. The tip struck with unstoppable force, breaking through everything it met. The god of arrogance reacted with lightning speed, thrusting his halberd up to block. Still, the god-slaying spear was too swift. The halberd couldn't fully absorb the impact. His arm was grievously injured, and the blood-red blades slipped in his hand. He forced the halberd to defend, but the god-slaying spear's power shattered it with a crisp metallic snap. The spear tore through his arm, blood spraying. A sharp scream torn from the god of arrogance. Blood poured from the wound. Qian Xunan reappeared at his side again, spear aimed at his throat. The god of arrogance cursed through clenched teeth, enraged. This spear was abnormally oppressive. It restrained even his defenses. A long spear form tore through the air, unstoppable. The god of arrogance's pupils flashed crimson. He blurred into a blood-red afterimage and intercepted the attack. The impact sent him careening backward dozens of meters. He crashed to a halt and spat a mouthful of blood. His face had gone ashen. His pierced arm bled freely. He stared at Qian Xunan with a cold, flashing gaze. He coughed up more blood and slumped, weakness creeping across his features. Qian Xunan, now I understand why you could kill Tang San, who possessed two god positions, the god of arrogance admitted, looking at him. 185. Great battle! Boom! A wild demonic aura erupted from the god of arrogance. His robes whipped wildly, and faint blood-red sigils flared along his arms, casting a fierce crimson glow. For an instant, he seemed like a blood-soaked asura, chilling to behold. The aura streaming from him grew and swelled. Streaks of blood-red light erupted from his body, and towering blood-colored giants materialized above him. Each stood 100 meters tall, wreathed in crimson flames, clutching massive weapons and radiating overwhelming menace. Roar, roar, roar! Angry bellows rolled across the sky as pillars of blood-colored light shot into the clouds. Space itself trembled under the pressure. It was as if the god of arrogance had fused with those giants, a domineering force that made heaven and earth tremble and warped the very fabric of space. Rumble! Powerful energy storms burst forth. A dark, yawning vortex tore open in the sky, as if it led to another world. Within it, a ferocious spatial storm churned, folded with endless blades of storm that seemed intent on devouring the entire realm. Shards of spatial storm lashed down like scythes, carrying an aura of annihilation toward Qian Xunan. Do you think I can't harm you? The god of arrogance sneered. Qian Shunan's mouth curved into a sardonic smile. He stepped on empty air and walked straight into the whirlpool of storms. Buzz, buzz. The raging spatial winds howled and sliced, but they could not scratch him. Qian Xunan remained perfectly calm, watching the storms with an indifferent gaze. A fine body, but, his tone shifted to playful. Today you'll learn what true unrivaled grace is. At that, Qian Xunan thrust his palm forward. A dazzling purple light burst from his hand and blossomed into a lotus of radiant, violet petals. The blossom unfurled with exquisite beauty and ascended to hover above him, bathing him in a sacred purple radiance. The lotus swayed in midair as its holy light wrapped around Qian Xunan and joined with him. He stood in the void, gripping the god-slaying spear, his eyes fixed on the god of arrogance. His lips moved in some quiet incantation. As his words fell, the purple lotus erupted in countless rays of light. A profound fluctuation spread outward from Qian Xunan. Endless purple light surged from his form, sweeping in every direction with astonishing speed and instantly enveloping the god of arrogance. Qian Xunan seemed to transcend into a supreme divine king, every motion resonant with heaven and earth. The space around him trembled. The black and white radiance coiling around the god-slaying spear brightened, mysterious runes weaving along its haft and emanating a sacred aura. Qian Xunan's features blurred, as if multiplied into countless forms, each bearing its own consciousness and capable of unleashing opposing forces. The aura he emitted felt like two titanic powers fused into one, devastatingly destructive. Slaughter, destruction, the god of arrogance murmured. The blood-red giants thundered skyward again, their forms wavering as if merging into the surrounding void. Chirp, Chirp, chirp. The sound of space tearing filled the air as endless sword chi flowed from the god of arrogance's body. From the void, 9 blood-red battle axes materialized, each saturated with a murderous, sanguine aura and exuding an uncanny dread. Boom! Heavenly thunder exploded. Countless thick heavenly tribulations cascaded down toward Qian Xunan. Kill! Qian Xunan roared. The blood-red giants surged to intercept the heavenly tribulations, colliding with them in booming impacts. Waves of blood-colored light braided and bound together. That part of the sky became a sea of crimson. Whooshing air split the battlefield. The god of arrogance vanished from where he stood and reappeared above Qian Xunan in the blink of an eye. In his right hand, he gripped a blood-red long spear and brought it down with savage force. The spear shattered into countless crimson shadows that tore through space toward Qian Xunan's heart. Each shadow bristled with the aura of blood fiends. Their pressure made the elemental forces of heaven and earth churn as if rejoicing. The blood-red spear came like lightning. Before it could reach Qian Xunan, it slammed into a powerful domain he had erected. Rumble! The spear struck the domain with thunderous force. Blood-colored light and the purple domain collided and braided into a stalemate. The god of arrogance snorted and blurred into 1,000 afterimages that darted forward at impossible speed. Qian Xunan's expression never changed. His own figure flickered unpredictably as he met the onslaught with the god-slaying spear. Each blow he struck sent monstrous waves of blood washing through the afterimages, reducing them to nothing beneath his spear. The god of arrogance's face grew grave. He did not relent, throwing everything into his attacks. Qian Xunan shifted his body, narrowly avoiding a strike, then thrust the god-slaying spear toward the god of arrogance's head. The strike carried a destructive, god-slaying force. If it landed, the god of arrogance would be finished. The god of arrogance snorted coldly and twisted, attempting to flank. He vanished into illusion, trying to reappear behind Qian Xunan and drive a halberd through him with overwhelming momentum. But the illusion was exactly what Qian Xunan had anticipated. As the god of arrogance dissipated, Qian Xunan seized the opening. In an instant, he was behind the god of arrogance, and the god-slaying spear plunged into the other's chest. A destructive force poured from the spear into the god of arrogance's body. Cracks spidered across his form, and blood sprayed out into the sky. End of this chapter. 186. The Tower of Forbidden Gods. The god of arrogance roared, enraged. Damn it, damn it. Qian Xunan, just wait. I will have my revenge. With that, he dissolved into a cloud of blood mist and drifted away. Qian Xunan's eyes flashed with icy light as the blood mist scattered. He flicked his hand and a terrifying force burst outward, freezing the surrounding space into stillness. The god-slaying spear in his grip thrummed with violent energy. He jabbed his fingers toward the void. The spear trembled, and a streak of bloody light shot after the fleeing mist. A sharp whoosh cut through heaven and earth as the spear tore through layers of space. The blood mist was pierced and scattered like an exploded spray. Is he dead? Gu Yuana asked from beside him. Qian Xunan shook his head calmly. He escaped. What do you think the god of arrogance wanted? Gu Yuana pressed. I don't know his aim, Qian Xunan replied, but he's not truly loyal to the god of destruction. He has other motives for sticking by him. So he must have a reason for coming to this god-forbidden grounds, Gu Yuana said. Qian Xunan nodded and turned his gaze to the enormous god-forbidden tower. A solemn expression crossed his face. The tower soared into the clouds like a colossal iron spire, radiating a dense, mysterious aura. Its body was built of countless massive stone blocks, each imbued with an ancient resonance, as if the very stones recorded secrets of bygone ages. The tower pierced the sky for thousands of meters, a natural chasm that was forbidding and remote. Thick runes wrapped the tower's exterior, emitting a faint glow that traced deep, unpredictable patterns. Each rune pulsed with sacred power, proclaiming the supreme majesty and impenetrable confinement of the tower. At its summit floated a gigantic golden orb, dazzling and bright, the core of the god-forbidden tower, the soul of the entire forbidden grounds. It held boundless power, imprisoning gods within this domain and preventing escape. The tower's presence was solemn and awe-inspiring. Anyone who stood beneath it felt an irresistible sense of majesty and oppression, as if in the presence of a deity. Qian Xunan felt the power surging within it, ancient, immense, as if it could obliterate all mortal dust. Yet beneath that force he sensed order and balance. It was not malevolence, but protection and confinement. "Let's go. We'll enter the tower and take a look," Qian Xunan said. At that, his body flared with brilliant light, as if he had become the sun itself, illuminating the vast space. Endless rays washed over the God-forbidden tower, and sacred light fell across its stones. Within the tower, many vague figures stirred, the powerful experts of the God-forbidden city, their faces contorted in horror as if trapped in some strange state. Bathed in searing radiance, Qian Xunan seemed a true monarch of flame. Every movement could incinerate anything in its path. He slowly raised his palm and formed a circular orb of light, its surface ablaze with dark black flames that radiated an eerie aura. Strange patterns streamed across the sphere, making it even more hypnotic. Qian Xunan grasped it. The flame orb swelled into a massive fireball, the runes etched upon it growing clearer, as if about to awaken. The fireball trembled, then detonated. A catastrophic storm of flame swept the sky, rolling outward with absolute dominion. Where the storm passed, chaos reigned. The inferno burned everything to ash. Space itself collapsed incrementally, its borders shattering into dark cracks. From those fissures seeped countless dark auras that converged into a boundless demonic sea. The demonic energy churned and howled, roaring as if intent on devouring all life. Sizzling spatial blades erupted from the sea of fire and streaked toward Qian Xunan and Guyuena. "Watch out," he warned, pulling Guyuena close. They took a step back. Qian Xunan studied the God-forbidden tower. "This place has incredibly strong rule protections. Be careful." Guyuena frowned. "I don't know how to break its seal." "Let me try," Qian Xunan said. He shifted into his god and demon form and rose into the sky. The god-slaying spear pulsed with terrifying energy as he drove it toward the tower. A blinding light erupted from the spear's tip as it tore through space with lightning speed. A dull clang sounded as the spear struck home and pierced the tower's surface, white brilliance erupting at the point of contact. A terrifying force radiated outward from the tower, unraveling space and annihilating everything in its path. The air itself trembled. Thunder lowed as the spear could not advance another inch. It halted still 3 zhang away from the tower, held by a faint golden light curtain that blocked its passage. Qian Xunan scowled. Light gathered on the spear in a furious torrent, spear light smashing at the curtain like a flood trying to break a dam. No matter how violently he struck, the curtain held. The barrier's sheen dimmed slightly, appearing brittle as if it might shatter any moment. So powerful. Qian Xunan muttered with rare gravity. He drew a deep breath, flashed forward, and slammed his right fist into the barrier with monstrous power. Terrifying beams of flame streamed from his fist. "Break for me!" he roared, pouring his vital energy into the blow. His fist glowed crimson like flowing magma, distorting the surrounding space with searing heat. The impact rocked the God-forbidden tower. Cracks spidered across the light curtain, then spread into countless fissures. Encouraged, Qian Xunan unleashed an unrelenting barrage of punches, each blow more devastating than the last. At last, the tower's light curtain fractured completely and collapsed into a shower of motes, specks of light that dissipated into the air. 187. Tower Spirit. The God-forbidden tower shuddered violently, and a blinding shaft of golden light shot straight into the heavens. For a moment, the entire world dimmed. The void itself seemed to freeze. With a thunderous groan, the tower began to rise, surging upward until it loomed some 90,000 feet tall. A colossal God-forbidden tower now spanned the firmament, exuding an oppressive, dreadful aura. At the spire, an immense, illusory figure sat motionless, eyes half closed as if dead. A bloody sword wound marred his back. Though shallow, blood stained him from head to toe, giving him a miserable, terrible air. "Is this the tower spirit?" Guyuena murmured, narrowing her eyes as she stared at the majestic apparition. The figure on the first tier opened his eyes and spoke coldly. "Who are you to trespass into the God-forbidden tower? Do you court death?" This was the tower spirit. Though it had developed a consciousness, its intellect remained limited. Qian Xunan met its gaze calmly. "Open the tower." "What? Why should I help you open the tower?" "I forbid it." The tower spirit's voice was icy, full of scorn. "If you do not obey, you will die." Qian Xunan's expression did not change. Then we will kill you. The tower spirit's pupils tightened. An almost tangible danger radiated from Qian Xunan, danger that made him taste fear. How could a human pose such a threat? Humph, you forget where you stand. This is my domain. The tower spirit sneered. You cannot escape here. This is the world of the God-forbidden tower. Within its domain, I am absolute. Even a true martial emperor or a descending divine emperor could not harm me. You will not break my domain. He spoke as if everything inside the tower was visible to him, its formations intricate, its laws profound, rendering the interior inscrutable to intruders. Qian Xunan's gaze flicked to the tower spirit's face. Above the 6th floor, he had seen a scorching sun hung in a crimson sky. Flame-wrought lattices suppressed the world below as if to imprison it. He asked quietly, "Is the Golden Dragon King sealed within this tower?" "You are right," the tower spirit answered. "The Golden Dragon King lies sealed inside." "We want to unseal him," Qian Xunan said. "To unseal the Golden Dragon King, Lord Asura must personally issue the order. Do you possess Lord Asura's token?" The tower spirit demanded, disdain curling in his voice. Qian Xunan and Gu Yuena exchanged glances, and both shook their heads. "Then do not think you will enter." The tower spirit's tone sharpened. A faint golden radiance flowed from him and congealed into armor. Golden halos slid across its surface, giving the whole thing an indestructible, weighty aspect. Qian Xunan's jaw tightened. "Then I will destroy your tower." His god-slaying spear flared, spilling even more intense light. A formidable spear momentum surged from its tip. He stepped forward, aura peaking, and murderous intent poured from him toward the god-forbidden tower as if to pierce it. In the span of a single breath, Qian Xunan, spear in hand, drove into the tower's protective field. The shaft shuddered as terrible destructive force struck the barrier. A long, thin crack appeared, but the barrier mended nearly as soon as it formed. "You need not struggle. Inside my god-forbidden tower, I rule. If I do not allow you to leave, you will never escape." The tower spirit's words were full of arrogant certainty. Then Qian Xunan and Gu Yuena struck together. Sacred artifacts flared, and the heavens trembled as their combined might smashed at the tower spirit's defenses. The tower spirit's expression shifted. He thrust both arms forward and unleashed a vast, mysterious will of rules from the tower. Endless golden runes spewed from the four walls, coalescing into gigantic golden palms that swept toward Qian Xunan and Gu Yuena. Each palm carried a distinct, inscrutable law, embodiments of the great Tao, majestic and annihilating. But the palms could not close the distance. A radiant barrier held them at bay. Qian Xunan spun his spear. Each sweep sent dozens of destructive beams tearing forth, each laden with crushing killing intent as though to slay existence itself. "You are not worthy to step into the god-forbidden tower," the tower spirit sneered. He stamped the ground and unleashed a thunderous roar. The earth buckled, cracks spidering outward as if the land might break. Qian Xunan's destructive beams smashed into the ground, causing wide chasms to open, ravines that scarred the earth, but the tower itself remained mostly unimpacted. A purple-black lightning warhammer suddenly materialized in the tower spirit's hands. He hefted it and smashed it down. A roaring lightning dragon burst forth, lunging like a living beast. Lightning serpents coiled across the dragon's form, ravenous, as if they would rend Qian Xunan apart. Qian Xunan's brow lifted. His spear traced a precise arc through the void. With a single sweep, the lightning serpents burst. But when the spear met the lightning dragon, it vanished as effortlessly as an ox stepping into the sea. For a moment, the tower spirit's eyes flashed with surprise. "I originally had no desire to trouble myself with you," he said after a heartbeat. "But since you insist on coming to my doorstep, I'll give you a little memento." A deafening blast followed as dazzling golden yellow light swept from the tower like a storm. Wherever it passed, beams of concentrated gold formed and charged toward Qian Xunan. Gu Yuena's delicate brows drew together. A silver longbow appeared in her hand. She drew and loosed. A silver arrow streaked through the void, leaving a shimmering trail and arriving before the tower spirit in an instant. The tower spirit snorted and struck at the arrow with a golden fist. The two forces collided, and horrifyingly for him, there was a crisp sound like bone breaking from his own arm despite the fist's divine might. His arm bent grotesquely, Pain flared across his face, and he staggered back sweating. He realized, belatedly, that these two were formidable and that the weapon the woman held could harm him. Gu Yuena smiled, icy and composed. "You don't possess an undying body," she observed. She then released a roar that released boundless frost. An aura cold enough to freeze the 9 netherworlds cascaded down. Her figure blurred, palms danced as ice and snow radiance blossomed, turning the surrounding space into an absolute ice world. The temperature plunged. The tower spirit's heart quivered as freezing power closed around him. He retreated rapidly to avoid being frozen. Qian Xunan struck at that instant. His spear, black as midnight, brimful of demonic might, sliced through heaven and earth. Flames thickly coiled around its tip, making it utterly dazzling. Space itself quivered as he lunged forward, his aura surged to its peak. In a single step, he closed the distance and stood before the tower spirit. The tower spirit, pale and bloodless, raised both arms to defend, but the impact drove him flying hundreds of meters. He spat blood. The earlier wounds had cost him. Qian Xunan advanced without mercy. "Still think you can look down on everyone?" he sneered. "You deserve to die," the tower spirit bellowed. "Is that so?" Gu Yuena replied softly at his side, her voice laced with mock sweetness. Qian Xunan roared and flung the god-slaying spear. It erupted into blinding light, slicing like a primal beast and carving a path. Gu Yuena attacked simultaneously. Her slender form was surrounded by a crystalline sheen. Water coalesced into a huge blue sphere that floated like a jellyfish, exuding an unbearable chill. The sphere rotated slowly, mist drifting from its surface. Above it, giant whale illusions of condensed water appeared, exerting an oppressive gravitational pressure. Qian Xunan's demonic aura went wild. The spear struck the blue sphere. The collision detonated the sphere into 1,000 ice-blue droplets, and a giant lotus of water blossomed into the sky. Yet Qian Xunan remained relentless, his demonic energy howling as the spear spun, manifesting into countless demonic blades that shredded at the tower spirit. The tower spirit screamed as the demonic blades pierced him. Blood sprayed and his body stiffened. His divine soul sputtered, its pulse faltering. He could not use his soul, only the shell of his body fought on. Qian Xunan seized the moment. In an instant, faster than sight, he drove the spear forward. Demonic energy swirled along the blade, bringing unmatched destructive power. With a muffled sound, the long spear plunged into the tower spirit's chest. Shock flattened the tower spirit's face. He had never imagined these two could push him so far. His pupils widened with unwillingness and hate. "No," he roared. "Impossible." In that instant, the tower spirit's image vanished from before Qian Xunan and Gu Yuena. A huge crack ripped across the central spire of the god-forbidden tower, bursting outward from where the tower had been struck. What began as a 10-foot fissure widened rapidly, the earth splitting and the crack racing outward. From the rift, dense bands of golden light spilled forth, so bright and solid-seeming they looked like molten metal. Low roars rose at first, then climbed into keening screams. It was the roar of a dragon, full of fury, unwillingness, venom, and a longing for ruin. The golden light intensified and shot upward, piercing the sky as the dragon's roar echoed through the entire space. End of this chapter. Chapter 188, Golden Dragon King. When the golden light flared, the trembling of the surrounding lands stopped. Although the God Realm's barrier held back most of the spatio-temporal turbulence, traces of temporal spatial divinity still seeped in and made the earth quake. Yet that single, powerful golden light calmed those forces, enough to stabilize an entire world. With a heavy thud, a huge claw shot out from the rift. It hooked onto the cliff edge and left a massive, claw-shaped indentation hundreds of square meters across. The claw was gold, with 5 thick digits. Each joint bore a circular protrusion like a golden gem engraved with spiral patterns. At the tips were sharp, awl-like points. Another muffled bang announced a second identical claw. The two claws dug into the cliff together, and the whole face shuddered. Then an enormous body tore free from the rift. It rose like a mountain, its intense golden hue bathing the area. Only in that moment did anyone realize the claws were merely its forelimbs. Its hind legs were even more terrifying, thick thighs ending in claws nearly 3 times the foreclaw's size. Scales glittered across its vast form, each rhomboid plate raised at the center where 2 lines crossed, producing 4 thick, solid ridges that bristled with sharp intent. A single scale was over a square meter in area. The creature wore countless such scales. Massive wings unfurled behind it, seeming to blot out the outer spatiotemporal turbulence. Sharp spikes crowned its head and jutted from its lower jaw, continuing down its spine to the tail. The tail narrowed and then swelled into a huge spiked tip, an enlarged mace that would crush anything struck head-on. It was a giant dragon, nearly 1,000 jong long. Its eyes were ruby bright, full of savage, violent light, and a dense golden radiance cloaked it. A vast golden halo pulsed beneath the beast. It lifted into the air with a thunderous roar. Its presence carried a crushing, oppressive force. An unparalleled divine power erupted from it, power enough to make countless gods fall back. It was one half of the dragon god after the split, the Golden Dragon King, a being that had inherited the dragon god's might, a god beast among god beasts, whose strength could rival or even surpass an ordinary supreme god. Long ago, the dragon god had wrought catastrophe across the god realm, battling the 5 great god kings. Under the combined might of those kings, led by the Asura god, the dragon god was cut in two by a single strike of the Asura sword. One half became the Golden Dragon King, inheriting the dragon god's raw power. The other became the Silver Dragon King, taking the dragon god's mastery of the elements. The Silver Dragon King fled. Its whereabouts remained unknown. The Golden Dragon King, near death, forced itself into an unbreakable cocoon and was sealed in the god-forbidden ground. Now the forbidden ground shook and the cocoon split. The worst fear of the goddess of life had become reality. The Golden Dragon King roared again and again, then surged upward. Its physical prowess was absolute. Strength, defense, and speed inherited from the dragon god, and even the chaotic temporal spatial forces now tearing the god realm could not harm it. Any such force that struck the beast simply shattered and vanished. It rose into the high sky and fixed its ruby gaze on one point, the golden light floating above the god realm committee. Like a gargantuan golden cloud, the dragon accelerated with frightening speed. Having been suppressed for untold years, it now brimmed only with hatred. A destructive aura radiated from it. Its blood-red eyes seemed to spit flame. Below, Qian Xunan and Guiyuan watched with pale faces. This was the dragon god's other half. Though not fully awakened, the killing intent and destructive might radiating from it were terrifying. Without warning, the Golden Dragon King dove, its target Guiyuan. Its attack was simple. It reached to seize her. Guiyuan's body went rigid. Some divine pull tugged at her soul, and she felt utterly unable to resist. Then she roared. A dragon's roar, raw and vast, spread through the sky. A dazzling 7-colored halo bloomed from her and washed outward, filling 100 li. The halo was not dense, but rippled like gentle water. When it blossomed, the whole world seemed to become a 7-colored ocean. The Golden Dragon King stopped in midair. Its terrifying aura slowly dissolved beneath that brilliant embrace. The 7-colored light receded back into Guiyuan, who remained poised in the posture of her release. The dragon hung stunned, its golden radiance dimming, and silence descended. Guiyuan floated in the air, her face a little pale, but her eyes alight with joy. End of chapter. Chapter 189, The Golden and Silver Dragon Kings Merge. At that moment, the Golden Dragon King looked at Guiyuan and said, "You've come." His voice was deep and steady, worn with ages. Guiyuan nodded. "Yes, have you been waiting long?" "Yes, a very long time," the Golden Dragon King murmured, his eyes distant with memory. Guiyuan met his gaze. "We once dominated the god realm. Now that I'm here, I want to use your power to protect our spirit beasts and the dragon clan." The Golden Dragon King laughed, a sound that echoed like thunder. "All you want is self-preservation?" "That's right. I want to preserve us. I won't let history repeat itself," the Silver Dragon King declared. The Golden Dragon King laughed again, louder this time. "Ha ha! But I don't want that. I want the whole god realm. I will control it all." "What? Are you insane?" Guiyuan stared at him in disbelief. Suddenly, the Golden Dragon King raised his right arm. Golden light flared around his wrist as he spread his 5 fingers and plunged them into the air. The sky rumbled, explosive sounds rolled across the heavens, and the god-forbidden ground beneath them shook violently. A terrifying, concentrated power erupted from him. Black streaks of light cracked through the air, and everything on the God-forbidden ground began to disintegrate. The God-forbidden ground had been arranged by the Dragon God as a special formation to seal half of the Dragon God's power. But in truth, it was weak, never enough to face the Dragon God's force. It had only barely held for ages. Now the Golden Dragon King directly drew out the power that had sustained the formation. He snorted coldly. "My will is made. Whoever dares to stop me, I will kill." The God-forbidden ground shattered with a boom, collapsing into countless fragments that scattered like dust. Seeing the Golden Dragon King's unleashed aura, Guyuena snarled, "Golden Dragon King, do you still want to be sealed? Our spirit beasts could never become gods, and our clan was locked away because of your arrogance and pride. If you start another war, you'll lead our race to ruin." "Ruin," the Golden Dragon King bellowed with savage laughter, head thrown back. "Our dragon clan's glory was lost 20,000 years ago. Now who can stand against me? I will lead the clan back to its glory. Don't forget, you've already died once. Your fate was sealed. Even if our clan has withered, we will not allow a villain like you to rule the God realm." "You," the Golden Dragon King sneered. Then he fixed Guyuena with a hard stare. "Say no more. Merge with me and give me your power. Nothing else matters." With that, he lunged at her, intent on seizing control of the fusion. Guyuena met him head-on, unafraid. "It's not that easy to take control," she snapped. The two Dragon Kings collided and became locked in a violent struggle, unleashing continuous torrents of spirit ability that rose beyond divine levels. Golden and silver light braided together. Each impact thundered like a mountain falling. As the battle raged, both of their powers swelled, and the Golden Dragon King began to gain the advantage. Guyuena refused to yield. Using her massive body and the innate blood affinity of the Dragon Clan, she fought to resist his domination. Their strengths climbed ever higher, yet remained distinct, suspended in the air. For half an hour the stalemate endured. Then the Golden Dragon King's form suddenly swelled. His scales shone more brilliantly than before. Guyuena lashed out with her tail, sweeping him and driving him down, only for the Golden Dragon King to suddenly clamp his colossal, millstone-sized claws together and seize her dragon tail. An irresistible pull snarled through her form. Guyuena cried out as her body was dragged toward him, about to be fused. In that instant, the Golden Dragon King's eyes closed and he released his grip, letting her break free. He slammed his fists into the ground. Rings of blue-gold light descended from the sky and condensed beneath Guyuena. Deep blue-purple lightning arced and crackled, binding her. The Golden Dragon King's gaze was icy. "From this moment on, your body belongs to me. You cannot escape." "You bastard," the Silver Dragon King roared, thrashing to break free. The blue-gold rings clung to her like iron, refusing to loosen. "Give up. I will not let you another chance," he said coldly. "From today, this place belongs to me. You are only my power." Silver flames erupted from Guyuena as she swelled against the binding, burning with desperate fury. But the rings held fast, unyielding. Her flames sputtered and blazed out, fading to nothing. With a final, anguished cry, she was absorbed, her body vanishing as she merged completely into the Golden Dragon King. A seismic change rippled through the Golden Dragon King's aura. Above his head, a brilliant golden rune formed and grew, bathing him in dazzling light and pushing his presence to its peak. He took full control of the unified body, hovering in midair as enormous wings unfurled behind him. Golden light spilled from where his feet touched, scattering like sand. Streams of golden radiance drilled into his 7 orifices, making his whole bearing otherworldly. "Ha! I'm back! I'm finally back!" he roared. "This time everyone will bow to me. The entire god realm will tremble before me." He turned his gaze to the human below, Qian Xunan, and asked, his voice cold and commanding, "Human, will you submit to me?" End of chapter. The Golden Dragon King's gaze was cold and lofty as he looked down at Qian Xunan. "Human, will you submit to me?" Qian Xunan lifted his chin and sneered up at the dragon in the sky. "I didn't expect you to seize the initiative. I miscalculated." The Golden Dragon King's expression hardened. "Human, what are you saying? This venerable one demands your submission," he roared, furious at Qian Xunan's contempt. "Golden Dragon King, you're arrogant. Dream on if you think I'll submit," Qian Xunan replied calmly. The Golden Dragon King's pupils contracted. "Human, you seek death." He opened his maw and spat a mass of dark golden liquid into the air. The moment it appeared, the temperature around them plunged. The warming water of the sea god lake froze into ice crystals and began to fall. This dark golden stream was the condensed essence of the ultimate yin-yang crown. The Golden Dragon King made a grabbing motion with his right hand, and a streak of dense, dark golden light shot toward Qian Xunan. Qian Xunan's god-slaying spear materialized and met it with a sharp clash. The dark liquid shattered under the ripples from the spear, but dozens more torrents surged forward without end. A sinister smile curled at the Golden Dragon King's lips. "Human, with your meager strength you dare defy me? You know nothing of heaven and earth." Qian Xunan swung the spear again and again. Each strike triggered explosions, but the dark golden tide never thinned. The liquid eroded the air itself, painting the area around Qian Xunan in a golden-black sheen, yet he held his ground, steadfastly guarding the barrier of his inner world without yielding an inch. The Golden Dragon King spread his arms and roared into the sky. Golden lightning snakes converged on him like a storm, and a deep dragon roar echoed, turning the heavens momentarily golden black. The pressure of his power forced the nearby spirit beasts by the lake to prostrate and tremble. Dragon-shaped phantoms circled him, and halos of golden light rippled out from his head, the aura of a deity. He had completed a crucial step and truly ascended to the God-King realm. Pillars of golden light shot up from all around, weaving into a net that enveloped Qian Xunan. He stood calmly within it. His face showed no surprise, as if he had expected this. The Golden Dragon King loomed in the air, his colossal form solidified, golden mane flowing, his domineering presence absolute. "Human, submit to me or face annihilation." Qian Shunan's gaze was icy and fearless. "Golden Dragon King, if your will is extinguished, the Silver Dragon King can take control of your body, can't he?" He unfurled his angel wings, and the illusory image of a 12-winged angel bloomed behind him. A shockwave erupted from both him and the Silver Dragon King, the physical aftershock of a collision, sweeping outward and raising monstrous waves. "Do you think the power of an angel can contend with me?" the Golden Dragon King sneered. Qian Shunan's eyes glowed like molten metal, silver light coiling about him. "How will I know unless I try?" Enraged, the Golden Dragon King laughed. "Good. Then today, I will use your flesh and blood to show you the true strength of a deity. You will die without a grave." Golden red scales spread across his body in an instant. His figure blurred and reformed into a 100-meter giant dragon. One claw lunged to seize Qian Xunan, while the other slammed toward his chest, ultimate killing strikes. Silver light met golden light in a blinding flash. Qian Xunan's attacks were plain and relentless. Each spear thrust released a blade of concentrated light that barely avoided the dragon's strikes. Though newly ascended and volatile, the Golden Dragon King was powerful, yet Qian Xunan, transformed from the Silver Dragon King, was superior in combat skill. The two titans battled fiercely, waves rolling through the sky. Qian Xunan, usually taciturn, fought like a man possessed, the god-slaying spear tracing brilliant arcs through the golden air. Then the Golden Dragon King roared again, and his form swelled several times larger. A vortex of golden light appeared across the sky and condensed into a sphere. Energy funneled into it until it solidified. "Divine descent!" he bellowed. The sphere's surface went transparent, revealing a colossal golden dragon within. Streaks of golden light shot out and formed countless sword-like blades that sliced toward Qian Xunan. The blades were composed of innumerable golden runes and closed off his escape. "Divine descent!" the Golden Dragon King roared again. 9 vortices opened above his head, and then more, 36 in total, an embodiment of 36 deities. Above them, a larger vortex, purplish gold, devoured surrounding light and released layers of pale blue halos. Qian Xunan's expression never changed. He swept his spear and carved through thousands of radiant phantoms, the starlight on his blades scattering light forms into pieces. Silver patterns on his armor flashed as golden blades crisscrossed around him, yet he protected himself perfectly. The Golden Dragon King watched his opponent endure and retaliate, his face souring. He had not expected a human to withstand so much and strike back with growing ferocity. Qian Xunan's battle intent flared. A terrifying force burst from him, and even the sea swelled. Silver-gray flames kindled and enveloped him. The Golden Dragon King produced a golden staff and a scepter. "Die for me!" he cried, pointing the scepter. A brilliant beam shot out straight for Qian Xunan's brow. With his other hand, he waved the staff. A golden halo expanded like a blooming lotus, making the air viscous. Elements coalesced into a dense golden cloud. Where its light passed, life withered. This was divine descent, the Golden Dragon King's most terrible offensive, short-lived but devastating, able to strike at the soul's intensity. Qian Xunan did not dodge. He thrust the god-slaying spear forward, and a bolt of silver-gray lightning burst from its tip, crashing into the sacred halo. Lightning and halo clashed. The halo trembled. The Golden Dragon King grunted, his face briefly paling, but he swung before hesitation could take hold and produced another halo that enveloped Qian Xunan. Qian Xunan staggered back half a step in the seawater, but kept the spear steady. Silver electricity coalesced, forming an endless net along the spear that surged with power. Within the golden vortex above, a long spear formed and shot down toward Qian Xunan's head, an artifact birthed by the overlap of the sacred halo and divine descent, a weapon specifically meant to pierce the soul and finish any foe. Silver light flashed in Qian Xunan's eyes. The electric net around his spear flared as if a silver dragon were binding it. He seemed to flicker and then vanished into the golden vortex. The Golden Dragon King felt his attention yanked wholly toward the battling lightning. Giant lightning vortices began devouring the golden sphere. He had no chance to react. Divine descent, imprisonment, the Golden Dragon King roared and clenched his teeth. His huge wings beat, and the golden light around him wavered into illusion. A pressure like a deity's was swept outward that could halt even lightning. But under the flashing silver lightning, something impossible happened. The sacred light tore apart. The god-slaying spear cut through, as if nothing could stop it. Qian Xunan was already above the Golden Dragon King's head, spear aimed at the dragon's forehead. Sacred golden radiance erupted to resist, but the silver on Qian Xunan's spear seemed to devour that radiance. The spear drove into the Golden Dragon King's brow, drawing a string of blood. The Golden Dragon King let out a pained, collapsing roar. His divine descent, though not sustainable, should never have been undone like this. Before he could gather himself, a volley of meteor-like cannonballs slammed into him, dizzying him further. "Roar, you monster! What are you?" The Golden Dragon King bellowed, frantic rage overflowing. Qian Xunan's eyes were serene. The spear traced a bizarre arc and plunged through the dragon's chest, lifting him off the water. Blood sprayed wildly. The dragon's massive body twitched and then went slack. Even the scales and ancestral defenses of a dragon king proved fragile before Qian Xunan. Dark red flames erupted from the Golden Dragon King's form in a fury of counterattack. Qian Xunan flicked the spear. Silver-black electricity spread along it through the dragon's flesh, seizing his limbs. A silver-white flame leapt from Qian Xunan's eyes and landed on the dragon's head. The dark red fire dimmed and was replaced by burning silver-white flame. The Golden Dragon King inhaled in a desperate attempt to blow it out, but the flame would not be extinguished. Even worse, the dragon felt his blood boil. His dragon core stirred as if being devoured. Panic seared through him. No spirit should be able to consume a dragon core. Then the silver-white flames changed shape into snake-like streams of energy that surged into his body and flowed through his dragon veins. A mournful, agonized shriek filled the air. The dragon's body convulsed as silver-white light flooded his flesh and blood, scorching him nearly senseless. Dragon bones cracked, and the golden flames of his life force were incinerated. His dragon core endured the worst of it, racked by unspeakable torment. Qian Xunan watched, calm, and muttered under his breath, "So what if he's a dragon king?" The god-slaying spear in his hand rose slowly. Silver light condensed at its tip, growing ever denser. A powerful aura was brewing. 191. The Golden Dragon King has escaped. Deities descend. Death domain. The Golden Dragon King teetered on the brink of collapse. The agony felt like being boiled in oil and roasted in flame, pain the great dragon had never known. Then a brilliant blue light fell from the sky, settling on him and instantly stabilizing the failing life force that had been about to disperse. Qian Xunan's god-slaying spear stalled for a moment at the interruption, but the silver light along its shaft flared up again, still locked onto the Golden Dragon King. Oh! Bang! Two deafening roars tore the air as the two massive dragon corpses activated in tandem. A golden net of light descended and wrapped around Qian Xunan, while another beam formed a golden cocoon that encased the faltering golden dragon king. The dragon felt his life draining away, even as that golden light from the fallen bodies poured rich vitality into him. Golden red scales sprouted across his hide, forming an interlocking armor. When the spear's silver-white radiance struck those scales, it was repelled again and again. The golden dragon king raised his head and roared to the heavens, his massive frame struggling to stand. "Human, I will fight you to the death." There was a deep, unyielding determination in his voice. In an instant, his body erupted into a scatter of brilliant motes of light. As Qian Xunan drove his god-slaying spear through the place the dragon had been, the lights detonated into a violent explosion. The shards of brilliance fell like fireworks, and beneath Qian Xunan's feet, 9-tiered lotus blossoms ascended, flooding the area with blinding radiance. A golden halo rippled outward, forming a sweeping aura that bogged Qian Xunan down. The world felt thick, his speed slowing as even his god-level cultivation was impeded. Good opportunity. The silver aura condensed and Qian Xunan reappeared. The spear in his right hand vanished for a heartbeat, wings spreading behind him. The silver-gray wings beat, instantly thrusting him to supersonic speed. In a blink, he was on a distant mountain peak. He grabbed the shaft of his spear with both hands and twisted. With a deep groan, the spear slammed into rock and anchored itself. Qian Xunan spun and thrust the shaft toward where the Golden Dragon King's lights had scattered. The air vibrated. Above, a silver torrent unfurled like a Milky Way across the sky and sliced downward. The Golden Dragon King condensed into a spherical mass of golden red light, curling into himself as he reappeared 1,000 meters away. A faint smile touched Qian Xunan's lips. He flicked his wrist. The spear tore free of the mountain and shot off, trailing illusory afterimages as it chased the fleeing dragon. The Golden Dragon King reacted quickly. His golden red sphere expanded violently, and when the spear struck it, he rode the explosion to accelerate his escape. Qian Xunan snorted and spread his wings again. A pillar of silver light shot skyward, and his body swelled to 3 times its normal size. A vast silver halo burst forth and surged after the dragon. The halo arrived in an instant. The Golden Dragon King tried to dodge, but the halo clipped his tail, singeing scales and leaving a charred streak. Even with his dense armor of scales, the blow had only been barely deflected. The Golden Dragon King bellowed, eyes bloodshot. He was a dragon of the dragon domain, a being at its pinnacle, and to be driven so hard by a human was intolerable. Pain lanced through him. He almost spat blood. Yet he knew he could not afford to fall here. If he did, it would be the end. He spread his claws and struck at the silver halo. The halo shattered under the impact, but the attack cost him time. Using that sliver of a gap, the Golden Dragon King vanished several hundred meters away. Qian Xunan let his human form return. He watched where the dragon had fled, brow creasing. "It actually got away. That Golden Dragon King is too clever," he murmured, though he did not pursue. He merely observed, calm. This battle is getting more complicated. On the other front, Asura and the god of destruction were still locked in a fierce duel. Destruction glared at Asura. "Asura, will you still not admit defeat?" "Asura does not admit defeat," Asura replied. "In my world, there is no such word." "Do you have any trump card left?" Destruction sneered. Asura smiled faintly. "Of course, if I had no trump card, how could I deal with you?" The god of destruction frowned. Asura held the Asura demon sword in his right hand and continued. "After you pushed for the expansion of the god realm and I refused, I could feel your resentment grow. I knew that was dangerous. If left unchecked, it could sow unrest in the god realm. You didn't believe the premonition I spoke of." Asura's tone grew softer. "Actually, I couldn't have convinced the other deities either. It was a vague, intangible vision. But the premonition has been getting stronger. I fear that the crisis I foresaw is close at hand. I told you this. If nothing from my vision occurred within a year, I would consider your plan and allow the expansion. I hope to buy time to resolve things." A hint of melancholy crossed his face. "You couldn't wait. You moved anyway, sudden, comprehensive in your preparations. Yet I also had a premonition about your move, and I let you do it to an extent." If we face the great calamity I foresaw while the God realm is divided, we'll be in far worse danger. We have to make the God realm united before that crisis arrives. I wanted resentment to surface so I could find a way to heal it. I didn't expect you to be so resolute. Destruction snorted. Stop playing prophet. Do you think I'll just let you go? Asura shook his head. If you wanted expansion, why push it to the extreme of tripling the God realm? Do you know that's the limit of how much the God realm's accumulated spiritual force can sustain? I know, the God of Destruction said coldly. I did it because I knew. By expanding the God realm as far as possible, it will draw more spiritual force from the lower worlds, enriching and strengthening the God realm. What's wrong with that? Everything, Asura replied bitterly. If my premonition is right, you're mistaken. You won't accept my judgment, Destruction, but I am a member of the God Realm Committee, just like you. Everything I do is for the God Realm. Destruction's mouth tightened. He had to admit one thing. His expansion had become, in part, an attempt to prove his correctness to the other deities. Destruction, you've truly lost yourself and been corrupted by destruction itself, Asura said. The victor makes the rules, the God of Destruction snapped. No more talk. Since you can break the seal, we'll settle this by force. Do you really think your lone strength can turn the tide? He stepped forward in the void. His will, raw and destructive, condensed into a giant hammer and smashed toward Asura. He could not allow Asura to undermine the morale of his followers. Asura raised the Asura demon sword. A red halo bloomed, blocking the hammer of destruction. Stop, Destruction, Asura said evenly. It's not too late. Work with me to compress the expanded God realm back. Even if we can't restore it fully, we can mitigate the loss of spiritual force. Then win. Destruction's reply was a cold laugh. How can you, alone, face so many deities? I admit the risk exists, but with greater risk comes greater reward. If I expand the God realm successfully, everyone who follows me may rise. How can one expect huge gains without taking risks? So we must fight this out, Asura asked softly. Enough talk. Show me your truth. The God of Destruction shouted and threw a punch. The sky seemed to fracture. One side of the world dimmed, while the other flared with a purplish-red brilliance. Destruction unleashed a strike that outmatched even the blade of destruction that Qian Xunan had once used, the difference between a full deity and a lesser one. Asura's expression stayed composed. The Asura demon sword in his hand flickered and then disappeared, dissolving into thousands of shards of light that radiated outward. When the cascade of light filled a 30-meter area, a mountain silhouette rose, an enormous crimson peak that stood like a jade tower. Its surface was a faceted shield, a deep molten red that felt solid as iron. Under its protection, fire elements surged wildly. Even the God of Destruction's full-force hammer strike failed to unsettle it. Destruction, Asura said calmly, your power is strong, pure, but you are, in the end, only a battle armor master of limited rank. You cannot perfectly control such force. You cannot harm me. If I had wanted to, when you attacked, I would have used my most skilled domain. You already lost. The God of Destruction's nostrils flared. Light rings erupted behind him, 9 giant halos appearing in an instant. His aura swelled. The ground beneath him trembled as if the planet itself rotated violently from the energy flux. He roared, "Imprison!" Everything around them halted, including the mountain silhouette. Asura's brow twitched. He pointed the Asura sword, and endless slashes of light poured forth. Clang, clang, clang! The world filled with the sound of impact. The God of Destruction staggered back several steps, his face darker than before. His imprisonment should have been his trump move, and yet Asura dismantled it. Worse, Asura's comprehension seemed to outstrip his own, an unsettling realization. Asura smiled faintly. How does that move taste? Asura, don't force my hand. Die and pay the price, the God of Destruction snarled. As you wish, Asura replied, and a radiant light enveloped him. He blurred, then a dazzling aura settled around his form. The light flashed so fast that every deity nearby, no matter their rank, felt a chill run through their minds. Under that illumination, their spiritual worlds wavered, as if ready to fracture. The God of Destruction could not hold his fury. You're courting death, he bellowed, and his body swelled. Armor fused to his flesh until he became a 100-meter titan, charging at Asura with destructive wrath incarnate. Destruction's nature, devastation, and annihilation was concentrated into that assault. Asura laughed. Come then, let's see if you can truly destroy me. They collided. The god of destruction's punch met the Asura demon sword. A shock of force tore through heaven and earth. Mountains crumbled, rocks shattered, and flew like rain, and raw energy scattered in all directions. In an instant, the surrounding ranges were powdered into dust. 192. Insert into the battle. A surge of battle intent exploded through the air. On the god of destruction's side, he raised his right hand. A streak of purple light shot up into the sky and fell back, condensing into a 2-zhang-long purple scepter in his grip. The scepter was like lightning, purplish black, yet radiating a fierce purple glow, and the intent of destruction it carried made the heavens tremble. The scepter of destruction, the god of destruction's ultimate weapon. He had rarely used it before because he could not fully control its power. The scepter had existed since the founding of the god realm, an implement that embodied the intent of annihilation. Once it locked on, escape was nearly impossible, and each activation required a massive accumulation of destructive energy. But now the god of destruction no longer cared. A deafening thunderclap shattered the sky. Countless bolts of lightning coalesced out of nothing, descending upon the god of destruction's raised scepter with the aura of pure ruin. His imposing presence surged. This was the true power of destruction. The Asura held the Asura demon sword. Blood-red light danced along the blade, and a brutal, sanguine aura washed over him. His body swelled. A circle of blood mist condensed around him, and behind him, a river of blood uncoiled. The river's crimson deepened, as if filled with the wails of innumerable wronged souls. 3 golden sigils then flickered into being behind him. His handsome features twisted into a feral mask. He grew in height by 3 zhang. Grayish-white scales crept over his skin. His arms became 6-clawed draconic wings. His body lengthened past 50 meters, and as his colossal tail swept the air, space itself buckled. The god of destruction, scepter gleaming under a purple halo, unleashed beams of light that expanded into a terrifying radiance with a 70-kilometer radius aimed straight at the Asura. Aang, Asura snarled. He hefted the Asura demon sword. Dark gold light flickered on the blade. He slashed at the purple onslaught. The sword's glow carved through space itself, tearing open a rift in the purple light. Asura shot through that gap and appeared before the god of destruction. Ding! Scepter met sword. Asura grunted, chest armor dented, but he held the blow. The Asura demon sword had already driven deep into the god of destruction's shoulder, and pivoting on the blade tip, began to twist along his body. Bang! The god of destruction slapped the Asura demon sword. The sharp pain forced Asura's assault to falter, and the god of destruction used that instant to wrench free. He swung the scepter, and endless streams of destructive elements from heaven and earth poured into it like rivers into the sea. The scepter swollen in size to 100 meters, surging toward Asura. A solemn shadow crossed Asura's eyes. He stomped his right foot and blasted upward like a cannonball. He raised the demon sword. The giant blood dragon that had been coiling behind him vanished and was replaced by a dazzling 7-colored star that shimmered brilliantly. Boom! The scepter struck the planet, tearing a roar from the world. An explosion wave radiated outward. Asura did not retreat. Instead, he grew even more intense. The 7-colored star behind him flared, bathing the sky in rainbow light. His aura peaked, his form sharpened until sinew and bone showed. He gripped his sword with both hands as blood surged through him. Aang! He bellowed, and a curtain of blood-red light erupted into a massive blood dragon. The dragon writhed and entwined the god of destruction's scepter. Atop the Asura demon sword, the 7-colored star shone too, clusters of prismatic light cloaking the blade and lending a majestic glory to the air. One sword slash, and its intent reached the heavens. Rumble, space collapsed. Great swathes of dark cloud rolled across the sky, blotting sun and moon. The god of destruction grunted and was driven backward. Under the onslaught of that blood-red radiance, the scepter nearly slipped from his grasp. The destructive energy within it raced to resist the red power. Bleeding, he backed away several steps. Hammer of destruction, annihilate for me, the god of destruction roared. The scepter traced an arc and struck the Asura demon sword again. The sword was forced to recoil, but the 7-colored star remained. The sky filled with gathering tribulation clouds, dense and menacing. Asura's eyes narrowed, and he took a step. The world twisted with him. Lightning boiled in the heavens. Huge thunderclouds churned, and bolts thick as houses rained down, the power of heavenly punishment pouring into the domain until the whole world felt suffocating. The god of destruction's position shrank as the tribulation swelled. Guided by him, heaven's scourge lightning slammed into Asura again and again, forcing him to retreat and endure the heavenly punishment. The god of destruction's figure blurred and merged with the scepter. When he reappeared, he was already near Asura, both hands on the scepter, smashing it toward him. This time Asura could not dodge. The scepter struck him full force. A cold smile curved the god of destruction's lips. He had planned this. The scepter's power could be stacked, and when he and the scepter became one, the law of destruction would be invoked. His own mastery of that law, his greatest strength, had been fused into the scepter. When fully combined, the destructive law within would exceed even the power typical of a deity. Asura brought out the demon sword. From the blade came a unique fluctuation. Under the baptism of destructive lightning, the sword had transformed. The Asura demon sword, a sentient heavenly treasure, though not innate, was a postnatal weapon, until now. Under the law of destruction's influence, it released awe-inspiring majesty. As Asura's body floated, the sword trembled in the void and hummed with an inner resonance. The sound was not loud, but it shook the soul. Asura felt a dizzying nausea. The next instant, the Asura demon sword darted back to his front. He raised a hand to guard. Clang! Two supreme divine weapons met, spewing sparks. The god of destruction felt his wrist sag and his arm go numb from the force, a tearing ache at the tiger's mouth. The sword circled and struck again. This time, the god of destruction did not overreach. He crouched, dodging swiftly. Asura seized the moment and pressed the attack, each slash carrying the force to sunder mountains and rivers. "You cannot kill me," the god of destruction roared. "Today you will learn our power. Law of destruction, annihilate all things." Seven-colored starlight flared across the god of destruction's form. Light surged from every direction and solidified into strange runes in midair. Each radiated destructive gleam. Boom! The explosive force halted Asura's momentum. The scepter's power, fused with natural catastrophe and the law of destruction, grew even more fearsome. Law of destruction. Meteor shower from heaven. Destroy all things, the god of destruction intoned, his voice echoing through the space. The world shifted color. Enormous boulders manifested out of emptiness and hurtled down. Asura spat blood. These meteors threatened him greatly. He planted his feet and met them with the Asura demon sword. Meteors exploded against his defense, but there were too many. They kept falling. The god of destruction looked a touch wild-eyed, his aura condensing. The seven-colored light on his body blazed as the scepter delivered relentless strikes. Meanwhile, the king of destruction, who had been lurking in the shadows, finally acted. While Asura resisted the meteor storm, a black and red blade like a burning flame slid silently behind his back and pierced his right shoulder. This long sword contained a black hole. Once it sank in, escape felt like plunging into a marsh. Breaking free required titanic effort. At once the sky dimmed, and every plant and weed on the ground withered. "Destroy! Destroy! Destroy everything!" the god of destruction roared, his scepter dazzling. Meteors quickened and thickened. He seized the moment for a fiercer onslaught. "Roar!" Asura bellowed. His form exploded outward. He grew 100 jang tall. An Asura phantom rose. The king of Asura merged into his main body. The Asura demon sword, amplified by the law of destruction, unleashed monstrous energy waves. Both he and his phantom fought with everything they had. Boom, boom, boom. Earth-shaking detonations continued. Asura's battered form was driven back, wounds covering him, yet the god of destruction still stood. The ground around him was pocked with countless pits, marks left by Asura's assaults. "What, out of strength? Weren't you supposed to be immortal? Weren't you going to slaughter us all? Come on, keep going! Ha ha!" The god of destruction taunted, emotion overflowing into derisive laughter. Asura grunted. Blood leaked from the corner of his mouth, but the light on the Asura demon sword only grew brighter. Determination flashed in his eyes. The god of destruction suddenly reined in his aura and hung suspended in the sky. "What? Falling silent? Surrendering?" he laughed. Asura ignored him. He closed his eyes slowly. A fissure opened at his glabella, and a golden red liquid oozed out. It flowed over his face and spread into a thin film that covered it, and his aged features seemed to peel away. He looked years younger. You? The god of destruction's expression darkened into sudden solemnity. Light surged in his eyes. Asura's figure flickered. The Asura demon's sword vanished from his hand, and in its place, a gigantic golden-red fireball took form, seeming built from an infinite well of energy. Even the god of destruction, who had cultivated to such heights, felt a chill of dread at the sight. Boom! A violent roar burst out, and the golden-red flames expanded, engulfing 10,000 meters and wrapping around Asura. The Asura wings beat furiously, driving his blood chi to resist the Inferno's invasion. The god of destruction cried, "Destruction thunder!" Purple lightning, as thick as buckets, struck outward, trying to tear through the golden-red flames. But the flames held, steadfastly protecting the 10,000-meter radius. One by one, laws of destruction within the lightning were annihilated. The god of destruction fought desperately, seeking a way out, but the flames were too viscous. Escape proved impossible. God of destruction, did you really think I couldn't touch you? Don't forget where we are. Since you insist on seeking death, fine. I will send you in to accompany my son. Asura declared. He pressed his hands into the void. Immediately, the Asura demon sword beneath him shone once more. A black and white halo erupted and spread, engulfing sky and earth. Two terrifying forces collided. Boom! Both combatants were hurled away. Destruction and Asura each spat fresh blood. Both lay gravely wounded. Then, suddenly, another force burst into the air. A terrifying aura exploded, and immensely powerful energy fluctuations filled the area. Asura, destruction! This old man is back! 193. A golden dragon is born. Roar! Asura and the god of destruction both heard the thunderous dragon cry. Asura's gaze sharpened. He swayed, becoming a streak of blood-red light that crossed thousands of miles in an instant, intercepting the enormous golden figure mid-flight. He had suspected who had broken out of the god-forbidden ground, but seeing it with his own eyes still made his pupils contract. What overwhelming vitality! Even as a supreme god, arguably the strongest in the god realm, Asura felt the Silver Dragon King's physical power press against him. He could not deny that, in raw strength, he was inferior. The Silver Dragon King, spotting Asura and the god of destruction, flared ruby-red eyes that burned with fury. The form of the deity before it may have changed, but its aura had not. It recognized him, Asura. It remembered the single sword blow that had torn it apart. That strike had severed even its divine soul and consciousness, splitting the dragon god into two separate beings, each with their own body, mind, and power. Compared to the dragon god at its height, when it could have taken on 5 supreme gods alone, the difference was immeasurable. Still, the Silver Dragon King had been wronged, sealed, and confined to the god-forbidden ground, until now. Asura, god of destruction, die! The Silver Dragon King roared, accelerating. The 1,000-Janglong Titan became a golden meteor, hurtling at them. Asura and the god of destruction tightened their expressions. They exchanged a glance and raised their right fists in unison, meeting the Silver Dragon King's charge head-on. Bang! 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 3 thunderous impacts tore through the air and sent shockwaves outward. Destruction and darkness shattered and reformed. The two deities' divine forces, pure, born of chaos, created a strange vacuum that pulled at one another. Their combined aura of ruin and night swelled and cracked the world itself. Only the colossal golden dragon and the two deities remained at the heart of the maelstrom. When the Silver Dragon King finally revealed its full form, it was colossal. Thick scales flashed with dazzling brilliance. Its tail stretched for hundreds of meters, claws like mountain ridges. It opened its maw and bit fiercely toward the two gods. Asura, the god of destruction, cried. Recognition hit Asura like a blow. This was the very Silver Dragon King he had sealed long ago, only now it was stronger and fully sentient. The surrounding air seemed to collapse into nothing. The two gods and the dragon were the only things left standing. A violent storm of energy battered them and forced even these titans to yield ground. The dragon's roar shook the sky. It fought with the reckless joy of one finally freed after long imprisonment. You sealed me then, Asura, the Silver Dragon King thundered. Today, I take my revenge. Waves of light and ripples cascaded from its body, the colors so brilliant they drained the sky. Its eyes burned golden red like furnace flames. The dragon leapt, and its roars split into blazing orbs that smashed down, each fireball containing energies beyond that of a star. It unleashed everything it had, determined to overwhelm its foes before they could recover. Asura's expression hardened. His 6 wings beat softly. A dense dark purple shield formed before him. The god of destruction's black robes swelled into a massive hammer. He swung, sending a destructive sphere of light that collided with the dragon's infernos in violent detonations. Neither god attempted to flee. To avoid the fight now would be to cede advantage. They met the dragon's onslaught with full force. The battle raged, booms without end. Each side drove the other back and forth until, with a final clash, both deities spat blood and were thrown backward. The Silver Dragon King fell screaming and slammed into the ground, a gaping wound in its chest and abdomen. Yet the damage, though brutal, was not fatal. The god of destruction drifted down beside the beast, head bowed as if asleep. He had been drained of vital energy and could no longer sustain his existence. Quietly, he faded from the world. Asura stood at a distance, swaying slightly, blood at the corner of his mouth, badly hurt but still standing, eyes coldly fixed on the dragon. Beneath his feet the sea had been shattered and boiled, but a golden halo around the contest kept the waters from touching the light. The Silver Dragon King rose. Dark gold rings circled its form. Its scales flared with blinding radiance, its body now a brilliant, deep gold. It laughed. "Ha ha ha! You didn't expect this, did you? Your struggle cleared the path for me. From this day on, I will rule the God realm." Asura snorted. "Do you think your strength alone can dominate the God realm? I sealed you before. I can seal you again." The dragon's laugh turned to rage. "You sealed me then? You and the god of destruction are both gravely wounded. How will you seal me now?" With that, it stamped the ground and charged like a mountain toward Asura. Asura's hand cleft the air, summoning the pitch-black Asura demon sword, an aura of cold death clinging to the blade. He struck at the dragon's forehead. The sword rang on hard scale, no effect. The dragon's claws snapped up and grabbed the blade, halting the strike and nearly wrenching the weapon from his grip. Asura's right hand retracted, then his left palm thrust forward. The dragon spat a scalding current of air that collided with his palm, roaring back. Still, Asura's Asura palm pressed onto the dragon's shoulder, while his right fist slammed into its waist. The dragon spun like a top and was flung away under Asura's control. It roared, and the light on its body flared. The last surge of its remaining life had been spent in that exchange. Both combatants were exhausted. The dragon flashed back at Asura, claws descending. Asura curled into a ball. A dark red halo bloomed over his body. The claws struck that shield and sent light scattering across the sky, but Asura held. The dragon's talons lengthened and pierced his chest like a serpent's fang. The halo flared. Asura emitted a muffled groan. His face went pale. He had taken a grievous wound. "You lost," Asura said quietly. The Silver Dragon King sneered. "Not yet." Suddenly, the golden light around it faded and was replaced by an endless wash of silver. Its imposing form swelled with a new aura until a long, clear dragon roar rolled across the sky. 10,000 feet of silver light erupted from its body, turning the world a blinding pure silver. Asura's face went white. His body retreated through the air, trying to widen the gap, but the silver light covered everything. "Asura God, this is my gift to you. I hope you like it." The dragon cried. From the silver radiance, a great dragon of silver flame ascended. Its tail swept down strings of dazzling silver light rain. Under that onslaught, Asura's form blurred. Boom! Asura could not hold. The silver force pushed him down. He crashed back into the seawater, and his aura plummeted. The silver light faded, and the Silver Dragon King's original form returned. Asura stared in shock. You fused with the Silver Dragon King's power. You're the dragon god?" he breathed. The Silver Dragon King only smiled. "Yes, whether you admit it or not, it's the truth. I have been resurrected." It raised a claw and aimed it at Asura. A violent force roared outward, making the world itself tremble. Asura's aura flared. He burned his life essence in a desperate bid to block the strike, but the disparity was absolute. The Silver Dragon King's claws pressed down, the dark red light lending them a monstrous edge. Asura's body swelled in fury. His scales brightened. halos of dark gold rippling from him as he fought with everything he had. The dragon's claws remained pinned to him, brimming with killing intent. A dazzling halo burst from the Silver Dragon King, and the sea boiled. Asura's body was smashed into the water. The dragon god's wrath, now unleashed by the resurrected dragon, was merciless. "You're courting death!" A deep voice thundered across the arena. A golden flash and a colossal cannonball hurtled through the sky toward the Silver Dragon King. The dragon's pupils narrowed, and with a flick of its tail it vaulted aside. The blast still detonated, shaking a 100-mile radius. The Silver Dragon King roared and expanded its power again. This time the dragon god's wrath swept an area over 100 miles, crushing everything in its wake. Asura reappeared in the sky. His gray hair had turned blood red. A dense aura of hatred and resentment fanned out from him like a storm. The battle had reached a new, terrible height. The Asura demon sword in the Asura god's hand erupted with monstrous divine might. With a twist of his body, he charged straight at the Golden Dragon King. The Golden Dragon King's eyes flared blood red as it met the charge, and the two colossal beasts collided in midair. The Golden Dragon King's overwhelming dragon god's wrath clashed against the destructive radiance of the Asura demon sword. Dark golden light erupted and raged from the blade. After a brief, violent impact, both combatants vanished. The Golden Dragon King's massive body lunged again like a meteor chasing the moon and crashed directly into the Asura god's torso. The blow sent the Asura god tumbling and slamming into the opposite side. He barely had time to rise before heat flared across his back. A golden-red silhouette had already bound him. It was the Golden Dragon King. A layer of golden scale armor fused to its body, and it struck with a claw. The Asura god was hurled backward, but even thrown by the force, he refused to give in. He halted midair. A streak of black light burst from beneath his feet and coalesced into a giant blade as black as ink, sweeping toward the Golden Dragon King. The dragon merely flicked its tail, using its armored carapace to block. The blade shattered, but not without inflicting pain, enough to force the Golden Dragon King to release its golden light binding. The Asura god seized the rebound and shot back into the sky. When his vision cleared, a dragon's maw was already waiting. The Golden Dragon King clamped its jaws around the Asura god's waist, bending him. Then its teeth ripped into his chest with a soft, sickening tear, white bone exposed beneath flesh. The dragon's claws seized and tore at the Asura god's armor, ripping through the once solid plating to reveal raw flesh. Cracks spidered across his body. A mournful shriek echoed as his armor fell away. The Asura god writhed, but Dragon God's wrath amplified the dragon's strength, locking him in place. He knew this was his chance. If he let the Golden Dragon King break free now, it would only grow stronger and perhaps kill him. So even though every instinct screamed that a full-on charge meant death, he surged forward without hesitation. "I'll fight you to the death," he bellowed. The Golden Dragon King's eyes flamed scarlet. A red pillar of destructive light erupted, triple-hued, tracing a magnificent arc across the sky. Grief and regret threaded through the dragon's mind, fueling the attack. Cold and resolute, the Asura god's own light flared. Asura's resolve, the first of the 9 true words, the only method among them that combined offense and defense, was activated. It transformed him, doubling his defense, accelerating his recovery, and allowing him to fuse his abilities into the resolve through his spirit power. Brilliant light wrapped his body. The cracks began to knit together at astonishing speed, and his entire aura surged. The Golden Dragon King's strike hit him in midair in an explosion of radiance. The Asura god's form was blasted away, 10,000 meters, and he still survived. In the distance, a meteor over 1,000 meters across streaked in with a deafening roar. There was a figure riding it, Lan Fozi, her face stunned. She had hoped the Asura god could defeat the Golden Dragon King and rescue her father. She never expected events to unfold like this. The fiery meteor arc slammed down, leveling swaths of mountain. Dust filled the air. The Golden Dragon King seemed to vanish like an illusion. The Asura god rose slowly, his body laced with dark red flames and twisted by the battle. Madness glittered in his eyes as he looked up. A golden light shimmered above. The Golden Dragon King had returned, resplendent in golden scale armor, body now an astonishing 50 meters long. A thick dragon leg extended, poised to strike. The Asura god sneered and lashed out with the Asura demon sword. The sky darkened. A colossal black hole ripped open and began devouring everything, dust, buildings, even ground being sucked away. This was his domain, the abyss. Within it, even titled Douluo-level powerhouses would find escape difficult. His control over space was absolute. The Asura god grinned. He had felt the Golden Dragon King's aura weakening. He hadn't truly slain the dragon, but in his abyss domain, he could stall. If his domain held until its duration ended, the Golden Dragon King would die. The dragon truly seemed to be shrinking. The power of Dragon God's wrath was receding. "Ha ha! Go to hell!" the Asura god shouted, teleporting next to the Golden Dragon King. He slashed for the dragon's neck, only to freeze in horror. The creature he had thought weakened was no longer the same. "Do you think you can beat me like that? You underestimate me. I am no longer who I was," the Golden Dragon King declared. A faint silver light shone, and an instinctive dread surged through the Asura god's chest. He drew back his sword. The clang of metal rang out as steel met steel. Where his blade had aimed, a long spear now stood, the Golden Dragon Spear, its surface glimmering with faint golden light. That shimmering light withstood the Asura demon sword. A low voice whispered in the Asura god's ear. Startled, he swung his sword in a horizontal arc. The clash reverberated across the battlefield. The Asura god stumbled. The Asura demon sword bore a slight chip. The Golden Dragon King's right claw pressed down on his head. Rings of dazzling light radiated from beneath the dragon's feet, the Golden Dragon language's halos. 7 halos spun, 2 layers of golden light, 1 rainbow, 1 gray, alternating and emitting endless radiance. A bloodthirsty glint flashed in the Golden Dragon King's eyes. "If I were the dragon of 100 years ago, maybe I could not have done this," it said coldly. "But now—" An irresistible surge of energy exploded outward, transforming into a boundless, razor-sharp pressure that wrapped the Asura god. Terror filled him. The Golden Dragon King's power was an ocean, a true world. Even inside his own abyss, the Asura god felt his body disintegrating. The golden halos were draining the life of his domain at an astounding pace. Panic flared. If the domain collapsed, none of them would survive. He spat a mouthful of essence blood onto the Asura demon sword. The previously dim blade flared crimson and swept to resist the dragon's strike as the Asura god blinked, widening the distance. Trying to run? Not possible. A furious roar filled the sky. A golden light flared behind him, snaking over a dozen kilometers in an instant to appear before the Asura god. A complete golden dragon materialized. Head high, tail sweeping, golden flames rolling over its scales, a metallic aura radiating like a tide. The sight froze the Asura god. "Dragon god possession," he roared, and his domain expanded. Everything within the abyss boiled. Dark golden halos swirled like vortices. The Asura demonic axe he had wielded vanished and was replaced by a gigantic Asura demon sword, 3 zhang long and as black as ink. The colossal blade spun rapidly around him, its dark golden halos amplifying his domain 100-fold. He knew he could not match the golden dragon in straight combat. There was nowhere to flee unless he had an artifact akin to a divine treasure. All he could do was fight with every ounce of power to keep himself alive. The Golden Dragon King's right claw rose and struck. The Asura god felt like he'd hit an immovable mountain. His bones ached. Yet, the dragon was not at the peak it once had been. Though the blow was ferocious, it failed to truly harm him. Instead, it sent the Golden Dragon King reeling. Surprised, the Asura god saw an opening. He gripped the Asura demon sword and lunged without hesitation. He could feel the dragon's power surging wildly and dared not delay. As the dragon sailed back, it unleashed its own domain. Inside the golden dragon's aura, everything warped to its golden hue. This was the domain of the golden dragon, born of the fusion between the golden dragon spirit and the golden dragon pearl. The moment the Asura god entered it, an irresistible force acted on him. The dragon's speed spiked 5-fold, and it was upon him almost instantly. The Asura god realized he was trapped. Movement seemed to solidify inside the domain. No matter how he struggled, he could barely keep his balance. The disparity in domain warfare was brutal. Under absolute suppression, some techniques were useless. His movement slowed, the golden dragon's claw closed in again. "Die!" The Golden Dragon King's cry rang out as golden light condensed into a single spear and slammed toward the Asura god's head. In agony, the Asura god spat blood onto his sword. The blood-red light flared and his aura surged. The Asura demon sword cleaved, and the Golden Dragon King's claw failed to finish him. The Asura god narrowly evaded, but the weapon carved a massive wound across his chest and hurled him crashing into a distant rock face. He landed with a thud and coughed for breath. The strike had not been in vain. The corrosive power within the Asura demon sword had torn a bowl-sized hole in the Golden Dragon King's chest, relentlessly eroding its life energy. If left untreated, the dragon would surely die. The Golden Dragon King shook itself and reappeared before the Asura god. Two dazzling golden orbs floated at its brow, killing intent gleamed in its pupils. The Asura god forced his arm up and pointed at the air. Black flames swelled in his palm and drifted upward. "I'll fight you to the death," he roared, and a pillar of dark black light erupted, slamming straight toward the Golden Dragon King's chest. Chapter 195, Great War and Destruction. A tide of endless golden light surged from the Golden Dragon King's body. The dark black pillar of energy struck him, but he did not retreat an inch. This was a life-or-death struggle. Whoever broke first would die. Cornered, the Asura god pushed himself to the limit. The Golden Dragon King's brow twitched in surprise at how little effect his attack seemed to have, but he did not hesitate. This was a battle long in the making. The golden glow covering his scales dimmed noticeably. Then, in an instant, the Asura god's eyes flashed and his form flickered. He vanished and reappeared behind the Golden Dragon King. The black beam slammed into the ground, gouging out a massive crater. This time the Dragon King did not fly backward. Instead, a charred, scorched mark blackened his flank. Fury flared across his features. Light burst from him as he expanded in size. His enormous body, which had been only about 20 meters, swelled, the golden patterns along his scales sharpening until each line bristled with lethal intent. The Asura god, too, swelled in stature, inflating several feet, but he still looked tiny beside the Golden Dragon King. Their domains clashed and locked. Neither could break the others. That was the nature of domains. Their destructive reach made them devastating against ordinary spirit masters, and as assistants for titans like these, they were decisive. Yet in that moment, the Asura god felt utterly overwhelmed. Before the Golden Dragon King, he lacked the courage to resist. The gap between him and a true super-titled Douluo was a gulf, a complete, irreconcilable difference. The Golden Dragon King roared, an earth-shattering cry, and charged again. Heavy blows rained down, each crash smashing the Asura god's body, yet his vitality was tenacious. He never fully disintegrated. The golden light in the Dragon King's eyes dimmed a few shades, a fatigue creeping over him, and the Asura god's eyes suddenly burned with a strange light. A demonic shadow unfurled behind the Asura god. A dense black aura saturated his body. The dark airflow he exhaled even obscured the Golden Dragon King's domain and blurred his sight. The Asura god sneered, then vanished and reappeared 100 meters back. His right fist left a streak of black afterimages as it struck for the Dragon King's chest. He was different now, fueled by darkness, hatred, fear, revenge. Negative emotions burst from him so violently his whole aura twisted. For a brief, terrible moment, he forgot duty. He wanted only destruction, vengeance. The Golden Dragon King reacted instantly. His massive tail whipped out and intercepted the blow, but the force carried the Dragon King off balance, and he stumbled. The Asura god lunged, unleashing a savage combo that forced the Dragon King to yield ground again and again. With a thunderous blow, the Asura god's knees smashed into the Dragon King's chest. The golden shield of light around the Dragon King quivered violently, but did not crack. "Ha! Die!" the Asura god snarled, his form blurring. At that instant, the statue of the Asura god behind the Golden Dragon King screamed shrilly. A black halo radiated from the statue, drowning out surrounding light. The statue swelled 3 times in size, its wings unfurled as if to blot out the sky. A colossal roar shook the valley. The Asura god, in a last desperate act, detonated his elemental core. He knew he was outmatched. He could not hold on any longer. He would rather break his own cultivation than let the Golden Dragon King have him for free. The Golden Dragon King's eyes widened. Golden light flared brighter. 7 colored halos burst out from him, and a crushing, unparalleled pressure descended, forcing the Asura god's detonated core into the dust. The shockwave the Asura god had hoped would devastate the Dragon King was suppressed. The aura radiating from the Golden Dragon King became terrifying. The seven-colored halo solidified like a curtain of light around him, and the blood energy coursing off him reached a staggering 90,000 years. Behind him, a faint silhouette of a giant golden dragon appeared, eyes closed, exuding authoritarian majesty. The Asura god stared in disbelief. He could not understand how the Golden Dragon King still stood. Logically, he should have been finished. Why are you still alive? Why is this happening? I refuse to accept this. He screamed, thrashing in the light. But his body was shattered. He could not escape the radiant curtain. God of destruction, are you really going to stand by? Do you think the dragon god will spare you after he kills me? The Asura god howled. The god of destruction glanced toward the Golden Dragon King, his expression wavering between light and shadow. The Asura god was right. If the Dragon King killed him, the god of destruction would be next. He could not allow Asura to die. The god of destruction produced his scepter of destruction. The Asura god's soul imprint clung to it, but the god of destruction was already in a perilous position. A cold, low voice cut through the air. Then a deafening roar exploded overhead. From between the Golden Dragon King's brows sprang a golden-red flame sphere that opened like a gaping maw and swallowed the Asura god's soul imprint whole. The Golden Dragon King staggered back, eyes squeezed shut, face ashen. The god of destruction's eyes constricted. He moved to act, but his body froze as if gripped by some unseen hand. In the distance, the golden-red orb that had devoured the soul ascended silently, bathing the world in its glare. A layer of golden light spilled from that orb, washing the heavens and earth in a brilliant gold-red hue. At this instant, the sky and land themselves seemed painted in incandescent color. The Golden Dragon King snorted coldly. "Do you also intend to court death, god of destruction?" he asked. The god of destruction returned the look icily. "Golden Dragon King, how can you be sure I will die?" Destructive aura erupted from him. Those who had been preparing to attack hesitated, and even the phantom of the Asura god behind the Dragon King stiffened. Strange symbols bled across the god of destruction's body and fused into his flesh. A huge magic circle blossomed beneath his feet, its destructive fluctuations fierce. At the circle's core stood a man in a gray long gown, inconspicuous but with eyes that pierced deep. He walked slowly to the god of destruction's side. "You still chose to help him after all," the Dragon King said, disappointment and pain threading his tone. "I am not helping him," the god of destruction said. "He must die by my hand." "Is that so? Then you two can die together," the Golden Dragon King replied. Killing intent swelled to a crushing force. "Dragon God," the god of destruction spat, "do you truly believe your cultivation makes you above all living things, above the universe itself? We have planned for a long time, waiting for me to kill Asura so we could take control of this world. You ruined my plan, so I will kill you." Suddenly, beside the god of destruction, a golden vortex tore open the air, an endless suction that yanked at reality and swallowed both him and the man in gray. "Bastard!" someone cursed. The god of destruction reappeared a moment later, engulfed in scorching flames as he tore through the suction and leapt free. His robe front shredded, his left shoulder revealed, and a pitch-black hole bleeding where it had been pierced. The companion behind him had not escaped. His body twisted and was frozen, imprisoned by some force. From a distance, the Golden Dragon King reached out and seized them both. Golden and red energies intertwined, coiling around him until he looked like a true deity. Then those colors condensed into a blinding pillar of light that shot skyward. Clouds churned, winds rose, and the world dimmed. Mountains trembled, great swathes of rock fell, and the earth cracked. The golden-red pillar pierced the heavens and annihilated space in its wake. Everything it touched dissolved into dust. Countless peaks and rivers disintegrated beneath its glow. "What terrifying power!" the god of destruction cried, then bit his tongue and spat a mouthful of vital blood. The blood became a brilliant star, carrying a dense, destructive aura that spread outward, forming a barrier to blunt the Dragon King's impact. He poured everything into his energy, driving the pillar higher. The collision shook the world to its core. Dark clouds swallowed the sun, lightning forked and arced. Elemental forces from heaven and earth poured into the two divine artifacts, intensifying their light. This was the combat of deities, forces capable of unmaking a world. God of destruction, today is your day of demise, a clear voice rang out. Golden light erupted. A gigantic sword appeared in the sky, its blade spanning heaven and earth. A radiant sword beam smashed down toward the god of destruction. Its edge was so acute that space itself seemed to tremble. The god of destruction's features stiffened. His destructive aura surged to meet the blade, but the sword's sharpness was unstoppable. It struck with such force, the whole continent went dim and the world fell silent. The god of destruction cried out mournfully. His torso shattered into countless fragments, his divine core separated and fled as a sliver of shadow light into the distance. Trying to run? Stay! The Golden Dragon King roared. A tiny halo, no larger than a foot, flickered from his brow and flashed to where the divine core fled. He seized it. The core shone and struggled beneath his grip, but could not flee. The Golden Dragon King crushed it. The divine core ground into dust and collapsed into a sphere of pale light that hovered briefly before dissipating. A silver light burst from the dark clouds. Then a rain of white light fell like a curtain over the mountains. Each drop demolished peaks, cracked the earth, and sent rocks crumbling. Cold fury lit the Golden Dragon King's eyes. He roared to the heavens, clasped his hands, and flung them upward. A golden orb slowly rose to meet the silver rain. Where they met, blinding radiance erupted. The world seemed to freeze in that glare. The golden orb ascended and swelled until it became a sun-like brilliance, bathing heaven and earth. Roars rolled across the land. The Golden Dragon King stood in the sky, treading upon empty space as thunder and a destructive aura boiled within the clouds. Behind him, colossal trees propped the sky. Before him, the earth had collapsed. His will filled the heavens. After nearly 100 seconds of titanic struggle, the sky quieted and the tumult ceased. When the dust settled, the land lay shattered and scarred, but the Golden Dragon King still stood, clad in his golden scales. Only a single extra scale shone on his brow, and a faint golden halo shimmered over him. All his wounds had healed. God of destruction, the Golden Dragon King said in a deep voice, you were worthy. You actually managed to withstand my full-force strike. End of chapter. 196. Chihiro intervened. The Golden Dragon King roared and charged at destruction. His golden dragon breath, reinforced by a sweeping arm motion, became a torrent of light like a falling waterfall. Destruction's figure flickered and vanished, a black streak of shadow leaving his original position. The Golden Dragon King's breath pursued, gouging a vast trench in the earth below, but destruction was gone. For a moment, the air around the Golden Dragon King warped, and a vortex opened out of nowhere. Destruction stepped silently through it, his face pale. A fist-sized pit gaped in his chest. He had almost fallen moments ago. At the critical instant, the mysterious destruction law had shielded his soul, or he would have been mortally wounded. This fight was suffocating. How had his opponent managed to devour his origin and seize part of his destruction law under such conditions? Destruction swung his staff. A terrifying geyser of destructive aura burst from him, and behind him a vague phantom of the god of destruction shimmered into view. The Golden Dragon King snorted, raised a hand, and pointed. The golden pillar of light in the sky flared to scorching heat. In an instant, an unparalleled tide of golden radiance surged outward, rushing toward destruction. Although the Golden Dragon King's cultivation rank might not match Destruction's, his grasp of the laws was superior. Destruction's power was raw destruction, but what he possessed was only a divine spark and a fragment of origin. A divine spark is the core of a god of destruction. The origin is the deity's law. So while Destruction's strength was great, it could not ultimately match a true deity. Destruction's staff erupted with destructive force, laced with killing intent, colliding with the golden divine current. He dodged and weaved, growing more ragged as the golden pressure squeezed. The Golden Dragon King circled above, beams of golden light spitting from him and enveloping the god of destruction's origin. Boom! The crash of power shook the air, and the divine spark within destruction was battered and sent flying. Both figures shifted into semi-human forms in midair. The decisive clash between God of Destruction and Golden Dragon King had begun. Columns of destructive light, like meteors in pursuit of the moon, hurtled up at the Golden Dragon King with overwhelming force. He spread his wings, each beat creating titanic waves. The duel drew a large audience. Nearly everyone from the 3 holy cities and the 7 Nations Alliance headquarters had gathered inside and outside the holy city. Ordinary people dared not approach a war of this scale. Golden light flashed as destruction fused his divine sense into the staff. Each beam of destructive energy carried immeasurable force. Bang! The Golden Dragon King shifted sideways to avoid a pillar of destructive light, but destruction's assaults only grew denser, a barrage of destructive spells cascading after one another. Destruction's divine force was formidable, but under absolute suppression, he could barely land a blow. Even when his destructive energy penetrated the Golden Dragon King's form, it did nothing. Every wing beat from the Golden Dragon King stirred monstrous golden waves that dispersed Destruction's attacks. He didn't even need to defend. Destruction unleashed spell after spell, unable to shake his foe. The Golden Dragon King's assaults intensified. His dragon claws rained down, each strike drawing screams from Destruction. Yet the golden light on the king only strengthened, his aura seemingly inexhaustible. Destruction, it seems you are destined to die today, the Golden Dragon King sneered. His form swelled, and a golden halo erupted. Golden Dragon 9 forms. 4th form. Dragon's roar shakes the heavens. Golden radiance flooded the arena. Destruction groaned as a misty light swirled around him. He retreated rapidly, trying to escape the dragon's roar. But the Golden Dragon King had already locked on. His tail whipped out and coiled around Destruction. Boom, boom, boom. The pressure forced Destruction back, but he could not break the clutch. Golden light rained down. Cracks began to spider across his body, blood gushing. He staggered, on the verge of collapse. A deafening dragon roar doubled the golden light. Destruction's flames dimmed and his aura plummeted. Then the divine force of Destruction flared, a terrifying power erupting within him. The divine force of Destruction is the hallmark of a unique existence among the deities of the god realm. It represents the peak of a god of Destruction's might and can suppress other attributes. You lost, the Golden Dragon King said coldly. I admit I underestimated you. Destruction steadied himself and stared at the staff in the Golden Dragon King's hand. Lost? Not necessarily, he rasped. You're barely holding on, aren't you? That half-forged divine implement of yours, condensed by yourself, has never been a true divine tool. If I fight with my life, perhaps I can hurt it. Oh, a trump card? The Golden Dragon King curled his lips. Use it then. Let me see what you have left. Your divine force of destruction cannot be so simple, otherwise it wouldn't be called divine force. Good. Destruction stepped forward. His light shifted to a purplish red. A dense purple aura cloaked him and his power spiked. The Golden Dragon King raised an eyebrow and swept his staff. With a thunderous cry, all of Destruction's light shattered and his body skidded back. Destruction roared and wings burst from his back. The Golden Dragon King's eyes flashed. He sensed a change. The destructive light around Destruction had darkened to red and a dense, malevolent aura poured forth. Destruction divine skill, Black Hole Devour. A ball of dark flame shot upward and streaked toward the Golden Dragon King. The orb was small, but where it appeared, everything else seemed to vanish, leaving a pocket of absolute darkness. Space around the Golden Dragon King froze, as if bound. The dark fireball swelled into a super black hole 100 meters across, swallowing half the sky. From within it poured countless vengeful spirits, each at least deity level, surging for the Golden Dragon King. Boom! The Golden Dragon King roared and lunged, his massive dragon head biting into the void. Boundless energy detonated. Golden light blossomed and tore the black hole apart. The dark fireball exploded into a rain of black sparks that rained like fireworks. As the embers drifted, faint lines could be seen, mysterious symbols branded into the void. The Golden Dragon King snorted and surged forward. This time anger colored his roar. Dragon might flared. The golden dragon spear on his back erupted with light. A golden halo erupted like 100 rivers converging, sweeping the field with domineering force. He spread his arms, scales standing on end, claws extended. Under the dragon might his body was wrapped in a faint golden sheen. Dazzling light filled the world, making the entire arena glow magnificently. Destruction slammed backward into the arena's protective barrier, weaker and in pain. His Black Hole Devour had been powerful, but against a true divine tool, he paid the price. The Golden Dragon King was not unscathed either. The light of his golden dragon crown dimmed and the flames on his body shrank. The clash between the two peak god kings was evenly matched. The Golden Dragon King laughed, golden light bathing him. He tapped a toe and pursued destruction like a spear of light. Destruction's eyes flared. He curled in on himself and suddenly surged. Hazy gray airs billowed from him, quickly enveloping his form. It was his domain. A god of destruction's greatest strength lies in his domain. As long as it holds, he can maintain an absolute edge. Within his domain, even an equal-ranked deity would struggle to kill him. But destruction did not expect that. Against the Golden Dragon King, his domain would be powerless. The Golden Dragon King's golden form flowed like mercury across the arena and silently merged into the domain. Inside it, destruction felt like he was drowning in a boundless ocean. Struggling yielded no escape. Outside the domain, golden light flared, and the Golden Dragon King's immense body loomed over him. His dragon head was imperious, looking down on all below. Destruction glared up, bewildered. He could not understand what the Golden Dragon King had done. The king emitted a melodious dragon roar that echoed over everything. Destruction's face drained of color. He realized with horror that the divine force stored in his body was rapidly diminishing. He could feel his life energy being drained away. Even a few seconds of this would cost him immeasurably. The Golden Dragon King's body swelled. His original 500 meters rose to nearly 3,000, his massive frame enveloping the arena. Golden light dimmed as a stream of radiance descended, the Golden Dragon Spear. The king reached out with a colossal claw, grasped the spear, and intoned, word by word, "You lost." Destruction stared blankly as his heart hammered. He finally understood the gulf between him and the being before him. His proud domain had been shattered in an instant. At that moment, an extraordinary aura appeared in the sky. An angelic figure materialized, 12 wings, alternating gold and black, slender and valiant. In his right hand, he held a huge weapon. The crowd gasped. "Qian Xunan! Qian Xunan! You're here at last! Kill the Golden Dragon King for me!" Destruction cried up to him. Qian Xunan looked calmly at the god of destruction. "Why should I help you?" "Qian Xunan, are you going to betray me? Didn't you promise to help me defeat Shura?" Destruction demanded. Qian Xunan glanced down at Shura's fallen form, then back at Destruction. "Isn't Shura already defeated?" "You!" Destruction's face twisted with fury. "You promised you'd make them disappear." Qian Xunan sighed and shook his head. "I did promise to help you defeat Shura, but now Shura is dead. I'm sorry, but I won't help anyone now." "You treacherous brat! How dare you betray me?" Destruction bellowed. The Golden Dragon King turned his gaze to Qian Xunan. "Brat, are you getting involved too?" Qian Xunan met the king's stare coolly. "I'm trapped in this vortex. What do you expect me to do to get out?" A crooked smile curved the Golden Dragon King's lips. "In that case, I'll kill you too." His pupils flashed gold, and an overwhelming suppression, superior even to heaven and earth, poured toward Qian Xunan. It was the unique oppression of a peak god-level powerhouse. Any god would be greatly affected. But Qian Xunan showed no fear. He slowly stirred the weapon in his hand, and its shaft trembled. The surrounding space twisted. The Golden Dragon King snorted and stepped forward, but his body froze in midair, bound by the warped space. A golden flare lit that twisted realm, perfectly blocking Destruction's sight and obstructing his perception. Destruction's expression contorted. "Qian Xunan, I will remember you. One day I will kill you, and you, vile dragon, I'll tear you to pieces. Just wait." As he spoke, Destruction's body began to crumble. Dense, dark gray light shot upward, resonating with the black hole still hanging in the sky. For a brief, terrible moment, they answered each other, and then the energy exploded. Chapter 197, Another Battle Against the Golden Dragon King. The Golden Dragon King fixed its blazing eyes on Qian Xunan and sneered. "Human, are you still going to stop me?" Qian Xunan met the gaze calmly. "The deal I made with the Silver Dragon King, your occupying her body makes this difficult." "Presumptuous," the Golden Dragon King roared. Golden light surged from its form, a wave of power racing straight at Qian Xunan. He stood unmoving, the god-slaying spear trembling once in his hand as concentric ripples of golden light radiated out. With a deafening clash, the two forces met, and the dragon's aura dimmed noticeably. Qian Xunan kept his composure, the the spear leveled diagonally toward the ground. "Your strength is great," he said coolly, "but today I will defeat you." The Golden Dragon King's eyes flared. "Just you?" Qian Xunan nodded. "Yes, just me." "You court death." A hazy golden halo flared from the dragon's chest and belly. Elemental power rippled violently for dozens of kilometers. The Golden Dragon King opened its vast maw and unleashed a thunderous, crystal-clear roar that shook the clouds. A golden orb spat from its mouth, swelling with wind until, in an instant, it became a meteor over 500 meters across and hurtled down like a star aimed at Qian Xunan. Qian Xunan lifted the god-slaying spear. Its tip sliced upward and emitted a piercing shriek as if tearing the sky itself. The air ruptured beneath flares of golden light. The falling meteor froze mid-fall, unable to advance. Light poured from the spear. Golden radiance coalesced into a lance of light that pierced through space. The meteor shattered into dust, scattering on the wind. The dragon's eyes narrowed. "Qian Xunan, you have touched the path of law. Do you really think I cannot deal with you?" He stamped a foot. Roar. The roar rolled across the sky, the continent trembling. Distant seas churned and mountains trembled. From all directions came deep, prolonged dragon cries. Streaks of golden light converged overhead and took shape into a colossal apparition. When it fully formed, the sky seemed to buckle. A 10,000-meter golden dragon coiled through the air, exuding monstrous ferocity. Qian Xunan planted his feet, the 12 wings at his back unfurling, golden halos rising beneath him. The dragon's roar swelled, and its enormous tail lashed across the heavens. The god-slaying spear in Qian Xunan's hand dissolved into motes of starlight that shot out and pinned the tail to the ground. The Golden Dragon King's assault stalled abruptly. It roared in fury. Suddenly, the sky darkened. Ink-black storm clouds bunched overhead, threaded with purple lightning. Another thunderous roar, and a second golden dragon appeared. Thicker, also coiling, with 3 horns on its left side. The 2 dragons' roars fused. Golden fluctuations rippled over the Golden Dragon King's body, sharpening its form until it swelled into a single colossal dragon over 30,000 meters long. It reared and spewed a pillar of pure golden light from its mouth, a torrent that blanketed tens of kilometers and annihilated everything in its path. Qian Xunan's figure had vanished. Only the god-slaying spear floated before that golden pillar, bearing the brunt of the blast. The Golden Dragon King hung in the high sky like a sovereign, its energy aura magnificent. With another defiant bellow, it launched itself at Qian Xunan, closing the distance in an instant. A massive claw slammed at the spear, but to the dragon's surprise, it could not break the spear's defense. When had the spear become so unyielding? "Do you think I can't deal with you?" The Golden Dragon King spat. Its form flickered into specks of golden light that scattered downward. Qian Xunan's brow tightened as he sensed the energy within that pervasive light, but he did not flinch. Then the darkness in the sky receded. The storm clouds quietly withdrew. Azure returned. A warm beam of sunlight shone on Qian Xunan, and with it came an ease of spirit, a quieting of the mind. The dragon's roar became a darker, mournful sound. Massive chunks of metal began to drop from the sky, each chunk gleaming metallically. They fell like a meteor shower, plummeting straight toward Qian Xunan. "This is my true killing move. Qian Xunan, go to hell," the Golden Dragon King hissed, its massive form nimble as it glided in for another attack. Qian Xunan snorted and cut a brilliant arc through the air with his spear. The spear struck the metal chunks. They detonated, breaking into countless exquisite metallic fragments that continued the assault. Each explosion birthed specks of light that fell, and each speck carried a special energy that, on impact, left deep craters, even corroding the ground into abysses. The dragon's attack was not only deadly, but malicious in intent. Qian Xunan's face remained impassive. The spear danced, sending rings of light outward. Each ring dissolved the airborne metal. The Golden Dragon King laughed wildly. Qian Xunan pursed his lips and kept striking skyward, fragment after fragment shattering under his blows. "You're overreaching. Today I'll show you my true strength. Break for me," he shouted. A faint silver-white aura bloomed from his body. Wherever it touched, the falling meteors or the scorched earth, things cracked and shattered. The metallic chunks turned to ash midair. The Golden Dragon King recoiled, astonishment bleeding into its voice. "How is this possible? How could you have reached this step? No wonder the old ancestor wanted to cultivate you as a core. But you're too young, foundations shallow, you don't know how to conceal your strength, impatient. Since you insist on courting death, I'll grant your wish. Golden Thunder Prison, activate. As soon as those words left its mouth, the massive meteors suspended in midair. Strange runes glowed across each surface. From those runes shot countless beams that condensed into golden lightning bolts, plummeting like a torrential rain of pearly needles. There was nowhere to flee. The golden lightning enclosed Qian Xunan on all sides. A trace of cold steel crossed Qian Xunan's features. Silver light flashed in his eyes, and a vast, terrifying spiritual fluctuation burst forth. Around him, soldiers' expressions dulled as though their life had been momentarily leached. The golden rain solidified. Then the meteors exploded. A colossal spear of silver-white light cleaved the sky, majestic and razor-sharp, and struck directly at the Golden Dragon King. The dragon was startled and quickly unleashed its spirit. With a thunderous roar, it inflated to 100 zhang in length in the blink of an eye, scales glittering like liquid gold. It lunged with bared fangs and claws, tail lashing. Silver light braided around Qian Xunan, crossing like a barrier and holding back the tail's strikes. Above him, a massive sword of pure silver light materialized and began to descend. Qian Xunan planted his left foot and launched himself into the air. He became like a silver river falling from the heavens, tumbling and spinning, the god-slaying spear radiating spearlight as it met the Golden Dragon King's tail. Golden sparks flew and thunderous clashes echoed. Qian Xunan's blows were fierce, but the struggle turned bitter. The Golden Dragon King possessed extraordinary defense. His thick scales absorbed most harm. Its blows were extremely sharp and delivered with blinding speed, every strike precise as a horned goat locking on. The dragon roared, wings beating, and lightning hammered from the skies to keep Qian Xunan at bay. Yet Qian pressed on. The Golden Dragon King felt pressure too. Though far stronger, the earlier collisions had sapped some of its breath. A seasoned fighter knows to strike while the iron is hot. The dragon's head shot forward, jaws gaping as if to swallow the world. The spear's tip rasped against the dragon's fangs. Sparks showered as the dragon shook its head savagely. Qian Xunan felt himself nearly torn away. He barely clung on, using the recoil to spring upward. The dragon snapped its head again, while tail and claws sought to batter him. Without hesitation, Qian Xunan threw the god-slaying spear into the tail. The Golden Dragon King seized the weapon and swung. The spear flew from his hand with a crash. At that instant, a ring of silver light erupted, centered on the falling spear. The Golden Dragon King, caught off guard, was blasted away. From the shadows behind it, a dark figure silently materialized, raising an arm and tracing a strange sigil in the air. A gigantic black skull coalesced behind the dragon, its maw opening wide to clamp down on the neck. Although grievously injured, the Golden Dragon King was still a 9th-tier magical beast. Even in panic, its soul's instinct flared. Golden light flashed, and it vanished from sight. The black skull, however, followed through on the illusion and snapped at the spot the dragon had just vacated. A chilling aura washed the air. Inside the skull, countless white bones throbbed. The Golden Dragon King's scales bristled like bronze and iron. The skull disintegrated the moment it touched those scales with a series of soft, crumbling sounds. White bones scattered and swarmed. Strangely, they had no special energy signature, just ordinary bones, yet the attack unnerved the dragon more deeply than any flashy technique. A figure materialized at the dragon's side. The god-slaying spear thrust outward silently, piercing the Golden Dragon King's flank. The dragon faltered. Qian Xunan had returned, his blade slicing across ribs and tearing away a heavy chunk of flesh. Blood poured from the wound. Though the dragon's defenses were phenomenal and it could still react, Qian's spear intent had penetrated into its blood. End of this chapter. Chapter 198, The Hand Behind the Scenes. The terrifying power radiating from the god-slaying spear in Qian Xunan's hand ripped through the air as he thrust it forward. The Golden Dragon King felt its whole body go numb, its movements slowed as if submerged in molasses. Then Qian Xunan's wrist flared, and an irresistible suction bloomed, an inky vortex that seized the dragon. It could not resist. It was dragged helplessly toward the spear. Qian Xunan's eyes were cold, hard with resolve and resentment. The Golden Dragon King's pupils froze in terror as it realized its body could not move within that black hole. Even its dragon crystal armor dimmed. Qian Xunan's spear struck the dragon's glabella with brutal force. The Golden Dragon King convulsed, golden light flaring across its body as it fought with its last strength. It unleashed the power of its domain, trying to nullify Qian Xunan's attack. But Qian Xunan had not called on any special spirit. He was fighting with his own physical might. Golden radiance blew out, and a single thrust sent the Golden Dragon King sprawling. Its bulk wavered, nearly toppling. Recovering in a flash, the dragon roared, whipping its massive tail horizontally. Qian Xunan was elusive. He sidestepped the sweep and withdrew. The aura around him slackened slightly as he retreated. The Golden Dragon King leapt after him, but Qian Xunan anticipated every move, turning, dodging, slipping past attacks, and then finding an opening to strike with a lone spear thrust each time. The sound of impact, soft, wet snaps, filled the void as dragon crystal armor cracked and blood spat across the air. Wounds appeared across the Golden Dragon King's form. It screamed, frantic and helpless. Then, as suddenly as he had appeared, Qian Xunan blended into the surrounding void and vanished. The dragon's roars echoed through the sky in a frantic cadence. Ong, ong, ong. Golden flames on its scales burning hot, the gilded patterns across its armor brightening. After a while, its roar swelled into a single world-rolling bellow. Golden light erupted, bathing the city in a blinding radiance. In the air, a figure of gold circled and danced. Light crisscrossed, covering 10,000 meters, smothering everything beneath a sheet of gilded sheen. The Golden Dragon King reappeared, still colossal but now veiled in a faint metallic luster, as if an extra layer of armor had been forged over its body. It lowered its head and stared at a tiny, conspicuous mark on its chest, a bullet scar. Rage roared through it, and it poured out waves of golden light that blanketed the city. Ascending, its bulk filled the heavens, rings of gold-red halos expanding outward, suffusing the world. This was the scent of a domain, and a powerful one. Everything within shimmered in gold-red hush, as if the land itself might fall silent. With another roar, the Golden Dragon King folded its wings and spat a fireball the size of a mountain, 500 meters in diameter, hurtling down like a meteor. It detonated in a monstrous blaze that devoured the world. But beside the inferno, a silver-blue figure materialized and struck. The punch shuddered heaven and earth. Brutal currents swept the city. The dragon was hurled backward, and a huge crater yawed at the center of the blast. Standing unharmed at the edge, Qian Xunan touched his glabella with 2 fingers, then pressed his palm to his brow. A faint glow unfurled from his forehead and coalesced into a single ancient character: destruction. At that touch, his mental state shifted. Strange, complex fluctuations settled into a profound calm. His eyes closed. Darkness rolled in overhead. The sun was blotted out and a charcoal sky smothered the world. Beneath that ink-black ceiling, a silver-gray column of light stilled above him, sharp, brilliant. A divine sword, true and bright. The Golden Dragon King's roar cut off. Within the gold-red flames, a dragon phantom quivered. Then a spear of silver pierced downward. A figure descended, cloaked in white, the god-slaying spear behind his back. Power pressed outward from Qian Xunan, holding him like a suspended statue. His eyes remained closed, but the killing intent about him was almost tangible. The golden radiance dimmed to pinpricks and fell into his skin, giving him a sacred, luminous mien. He bent his legs and launched, arriving before the Golden Dragon King in an instant. He reached, grabbed at the dragon's neck, and, though it screamed and strained, found itself helpless. A silver light lobbed from his glabella and plunged into the beast. The dragon convulsed, the gold-red brilliance around it retracted briskly. Qian Xunan summoned the spear. It quivered in his grasp, haloing faintly. The Golden Dragon King twisted, attempting to break free as clarity returned to its eyes. Qian Xunan's mouth curled into a cold smile. Still resisting? Who can withstand the god-slaying spear? With a flick of his wrist, the spear leapt from his hand. It cut the air in a flash of blinding light and slammed into the dragon's forehead, embedding deep. Blood trickled down the brow. Qianhan raised his left hand. A massive silver rune flared in his palm. He squeezed. The rune shattered into starlight that scattered across the heavens. A tremendous wail split the air. The golden dragon king looked pale and pitiful. On its chest, a scorched mark smoked. Beneath the burning light, a figure slumped, a Sura god. He sat reeling, body trembling, blood flowing from his mouth to stain the ground. Scars crisscrossed him, every wound burned. Once the invincible god of war, he was now a dying warrior, all grandeur stripped away. Asura god stared into nothing with hollow eyes. The wind carried the iron tang of blood. His armor was in ruins, his flesh shredded. He raised a hand as if to touch his injuries, and only shattered metal and raw skin met his fingers. Memories of past glory and duty flickered through him, of fighting for justice and protection, but the fire in him was dwindling. On that desolate battlefield he sat, waiting for the end, a lone figure amid the wind and the drip of blood. Black mist spread suddenly, and 7 figures in sable cloaks stepped from it, faces twisted with malign intent. The leader, Pride, stood trembling with excitement, scarlet eyes fixed on Asura god. Ah! Asura, I never thought I'd see a day like this. Pride crooned. Asura, what do you intend? Asura god rasped. To send you off, of course. Pride's words were accompanied by a surge of bloody light bursting from the ground to cover Asura god. Chains manifested, wrapping and binding the god of war in place. Pride exuded a chill aura of cruelty, tall, massive, muscles like coiled iron, hair black as raven feathers whipping over broad shoulders. His face was mapped with scars. His eyes burned like embers. Dark energy swirled about his hands as he prepared to seize what he desired. Asura, hand over all your Asura power to me, Pride demanded. He began to draw the power straight from Asura god. Pain tore through the old god, his roar echoing as rings of gray spirit flared up and were swallowed by the growing blackness. Pride laughed like a man possessed. His form shifted monstrously as he absorbed the force. Black wings unfurled from his back in multiple pairs, his flesh swelling with malice. He seized the chains and hauled, tyrannical energy thrumming from him. Asura, you are dying. Why not give me everything? He sneered. Asura god's screams grew desperate, pleading, but Pride would not relent. Greed consumed him. He bit into his own neck, pressing a golden yellow orb of light into his chest as he cackled. Ha ha! You're finished. All your essence is mine. The life in Asura god ebbed like sand. Within heartbeats his body withered, vitality drained until only a dried husk remained. The second-ranked existence in the long history of the Holy Spirit Hall, this peerless Douluo, was gone. No corpse remained. Death had taken him utterly. Pride looked down at the hollowed remains, satisfaction twisting his lips. Good. Finally rid of him. Rest now, Asura. I spared you prolonged suffering. He raised his palm, gathering a vast, dark aura. I will take everything you had, your spirit, your legacy. All of it is mine. In return, I shall obliterate your god realm and make those foolish enough to defy me pay the price. The god of arrogance looked at the remaining 6 sins of gods and said, Now is our chance. The day we rule this world has finally come. Begin the fusion. Before him stood wrath, greed, envy, lust, sloth, and gluttony. They nodded, and 6 streams of divine consciousness flowed into him. His body trembled, and he roared to the sky. The black armor covering him burst with a dazzling onyx light, and his figure rose, hovering above the ground. A faint black mist crept along the bodies of the 6 sins, and their divine essences pressed together, slowly coalescing. Their forms thinned and grew ethereal, a strange formation taking shape as the 7 divinities' consciousnesses braided into one. A dense, corrupt darkness seeped into the air, warping space itself. Wrath's form burned with scorching flames. The fierce light in his eyes fused with the god of arrogance's darkness into raw, destructive power. Greed's golden aura braided with the black, its ravenous ambition amplifying the hunger in the new being. Envy's shape twisted, her cold hatred lending a poisonous edge. Lust radiated seductive light, adding irresistible temptation to the mix. Sloth's languid presence infused a dragging lethargy. Gluttony grew beast-like, its appetite becoming an insatiable force. At last, the 7 sins merged into one, darkness and vice intertwined, forming a terrifying existence whose power defied comprehension, a power meant to rule the world and make all life tremble. All 7 sins poured into the god of arrogance. He opened his eyes, and a blinding, unparalleled light exploded from them. His majestic form became translucent, composed of countless threads of light. When he became fully transparent, he spread his arms and laughed to the heavens. Ha ha! It is done! A black halo rippled outside him, and waves of substantial force pulsed outward. Space itself collapsed and tore. A huge rift yawned across the sky, 100 meters wide, yawning deep and pitch black. Terrifying power washed the area. Streaks of jet-black lightning struck him from every direction, funneling into his body. Behind him, a black curtain unfurled, covered in countless rune marks that flared with suffocating majesty. The sky trembled, cracks spidering across it, as if afraid. A dark red aura seeped from the god of arrogance. At some unknown instant, the Asura demon sword had appeared in his hand, gripped tightly. Thunder rolled, impotent. This place had become a lightning-forbidden zone. Bolts could not penetrate it, could not touch him. "Ha-ha! It succeeded! It finally succeeded!" he bellowed. His aura soared, and on the black curtain behind him, a colossal dragon coiled, beating huge wings that released oppressive pressure. A sun rose behind him, blasting searing heat. Beside him hung a crescent moon, and above his head revolved a planet, a black hole throbbing with endless energy. This was the god of arrogance. He snorted and waved his right hand. The suspended black hole contracted, and a brilliant silver light flashed from his palm, shaping into a circular blade that sliced through the air. A blinding white explosion frozen everything for a heartbeat. He raised the Asura demon sword and cried, "Slaughter is the true beginning of the eternal path. Destruction, only destruction is beautiful. It's a pity the god of destruction escaped. Had I fused that power, how unstoppable I would be." In an instant, he became a streak of light and vanished. When he reappeared, he was tens of thousands of kilometers away, instantly before Qian Xunan and the Golden Dragon King. The Golden Dragon King looked up. "You bear the aroma of Asura," he said. The god of arrogance smiled. "So, will you submit? Let us rule this world together." The Golden Dragon King sighed. "Do you truly think I would bow to you?" The god of arrogance's smile did not waver. "Such a pity. You will die either way." The Golden Dragon King's scales bristled and waves of golden energy radiated outward. The god of arrogance snorted. The Asura demon sword in his hand shimmered black and froze the surrounding space. Even the Golden Dragon King's aura was stilled. The dragon's roar shook the heavens, and columns of golden light shot from his body, each condensing into a dragon-shaped rune. His cultivation and bloodline were peerless. He was almost immortal. The god of arrogance looked at Qian Xunan. "Qian Xunan, I admire you. Submit and be rewarded." Qian Shunan's gaze was calm. "Submit? To you? Not a chance." The god of arrogance blinked. "Even you defy the choice of fate? So be it," Qian Xunan said. "Try me, then die." The god of arrogance's eyes flashed. The black curtain behind him stretched, expanding in an instant to cover thousands of kilometers. Black flames surged and the world dimmed as ravenous runes swirled like whirlpools, devouring life. A flash of light leapt across the Golden Dragon King, forming a golden shield. The god of arrogance laughed coldly and sent black flames and runes to tear it apart. Within the shield, golden patterns pulsed and the Golden Dragon King's counterwaves strengthened. The black runes battered, but could not break the defense. The god of arrogance frowned. The Asura demon sword trembled. Black mist rolled in, thickening until it blotted out the sun. He leveled a cold stare at Qian Xunan. "You really wish to be my enemy? Surrender, and we can achieve our plan without needless deaths. Reject my offer, and more will die. Are you so sure?" Qian Xunan sneered. "Your goodwill means nothing. Then you deserve to die." The god of arrogance struck. The Golden Dragon King was first to respond. Its aura surged and energy like molten gold flowed over its body like armor. The god of arrogance's Asura sword sent out a black halo that met the golden onslaught without yielding. Qian Xunan closed his eyes, flicked his staff, and appeared beside the dragon. The Golden Dragon King released a barrage of thunderous roars and brilliant light. "Dragon God's roar!" A ring of purple light erupted. The black mist that had suppressed the dragon's might convulsed and shrieked as it was forced back. The Golden Dragon King swung its massive tail. A hammer of golden light smashed into the void, and the black clouds above tore apart. The god of arrogance's expression shifted. He stood on the black clouds, hurtled forward, and thrust his left palm out. A strange suction formed. When the Golden Dragon King touched it, its energies were wrenched outward as if being pumped dry. The dragon howled, furious, and slashed with its claws, grabbing the god of arrogance's right arm and hurling him 100 meters away. The Golden Dragon King surged after him. Jagged lightning arrows swarmed in. The god of arrogance laughed, and the Asura demon sword danced. A rain of black blades forced the lightning aside harmlessly. Qian Xunan hovered and waved his staff. Ribbons of blue water shot up and became ropes, binding the god of arrogance and dragging him downward. He grunted but vanished in a blink, reappearing behind Qian Xunan. Dark, ink-like mist spilled from him, dyeing the air black. The mist writhed and condensed into human-shaped monsters that leapt forward. The Golden Dragon King shone with golden light, its dragon aura exploding into circles of halos patterned in gold and red. The god of arrogance's eyes chilled. "You shall all die." The black mist monsters morphed into colossal wolf figures, savage and numerous. The Golden Dragon King answered with giant golden dragon avatars from each halo, meeting them head-on. There were over 500 wolf beasts. Though the dragon's power was tremendous, it was overwhelmed by numbers. The golden halos began to shatter one by one. The Golden Dragon King staggered. Qian Xunan pressed a hand to its head, channeling spirit power to steady it. The god of arrogance sneered, "After all this time, dragons should be used to death." The Golden Dragon King roared and released 10,000 feet of golden light, but it was already exhausted before the black mist titans. 3 thunderous roars escaped the god of arrogance. The surrounding black mist condensed to an extreme, and 2 massive black shapes materialized on either side of the dragon, slamming enormous claws into the Golden Dragon King's body. The attack was so fast, the dragon could not react. The collision erupted in a deafening roar as the dragon was thrown back. A mournful cry ripped the air. Golden light flared, and the dragon reformed, brighter than before. The god of arrogance's brow rose. He clenched his fist. "Good. Today, you will die in peace. Let darkness fall." A black cloud billowed up, blotting out half the sky. Where the darkness spread, the Golden Dragon King's light dimmed toward extinction. The dragon reared, a massive claw slashing toward the god of arrogance. Its attack was among the most powerful the golden dragons could muster, yet the god of arrogance barely bothered to dodge. His 6 wings fanned out, and he slipped aside as the claw missed. He struck with the Asura demon sword, and a grayish-white halo spilled out, the taste of deathly silence. When that stillness swept the air, everything stilled. Even the black currents around the Golden Dragon King froze. The giant dragon's body locked up. The god of arrogance waved the staff in his other hand. Dense black mist erupted from the edges of the grayish-white wave and poured over the Golden Dragon King, swallowing it whole. He raised the Asura demon sword, his eyes paling to the same grayish-white, and intoned slowly, "Dark Judgment." End of chapter. 200. Join forces. The god of arrogance had already fused the powers of the 7 deadly sins gods with that of the Asura god. He was now stronger than Qian Xunan and the dragon god combined. This dark judgment was one of his most devastating ultimate techniques. Darkness swallowed all light, vitality, spiritual power. Anything that came into contact with it was heavily suppressed. The god of arrogance's form was completely hidden inside a gray-white domain. That hazy light smothered everything, making the air feel suffocating. From the darkness, his sinister voice echoed, "Shatter for me!" With a furious roar, the gray-white light intensified. Qian Xunan felt an enormous power surge up from below, forcing him to stumble back 2 steps. The golden radiance on the Golden Dragon King rapidly retracted, turning into specks of starlight that vanished with a mournful cry. The god of arrogance sneered. "Pathetic." He shook the long sword in his hand, its tip a silent accusation toward the sky. A ball of black mist descended and condensed into a sphere around him. Rings of dark purple halos spun into being, wrapping his body. The sound of flesh tearing filled the air. The god of arrogance strode out of the darkness as if taking a leisurely walk. The Golden Dragon King was utterly defenseless. Bones shattered, scales peeled away, until its true essence lay exposed, severely wounded and near death. A cruel smile curved the god of arrogance's mouth. The dragon was finished. He raised the Asura demon sword for a killing stroke. Roar. Then suddenly a strange energy burst up from beneath his feet. A wave of silver-white light flowed outward, and wherever it passed, the effects of the god of arrogance's darkness were astonishingly reversed. The god of arrogance paused. Just a fraction of a second, and that hesitation let the golden dragon king slip away. The golden figure shot into the void and disappeared. The god of arrogance's expression twisted in fury. Bastard! He knew the dragon had escaped, and only Qian Xunan remained. He looked at Qian and snarled, "Now it's just you. I never could be friends with you. Then I'll kill you." Ink-black flames erupted over his body. Bloodthirst gleamed in his deep eyes. Qian Xunan, though driven to the brink, showed no fear. He planted himself with the god-slaying spear, and terrifying spear intent roared from its tip. 30 years ago, his spear intent had reached its peak. By nature, he didn't need fancy weapons. He didn't favor blades. A long spear felt truest to him. In this moment, he had nothing else to rely on but everything he had. The god of arrogance lashed out with the Asura demon sword. Sword light streaked and crisscrossed, each beam carrying terrifying force that steadily drove Qian Xunan backward. "I admit, you are strong," the god of arrogance said as he pressed his attack. "Stronger than I expected." He planted his staff in his left hand, and a hazy light rose from the ground, 7 spiral rings coiling into existence. Qian Xunan felt pressure tighten around him. "What is this?" he breathed. "The seal of chains," the god of arrogance sneered. The 7-ring pattern vibrated, and a gray light descended from the sky, aimed at Qian Xunan. He swept his spear, and a monstrous spear wave roared out, but the gray light pierced straight through, striking him in the chest. He couldn't block it. He was thrown hundreds of meters and landed like a puppet struck by a cruel hand. Red blood welled at the corner of his mouth. His body felt as if it were falling apart, bone by bone. Even his soul reeled. The gray light was consuming him. Rays of gray, net-like, wrapped his body. Gray motes rained down, attributes of death, corrosion, annihilation, life, spirit, each element with terrifying erosive power. Qian's skin began to age, his once thick hair thinning, his spiritual aura weakening. He understood. If these attributes fully saturated him, he would die. Still, he remained calm, eyes icy. He slowly raised his god-slaying spear, and a wordless, tremendous radiance burst forth. Boom! His armor shattered, but the spear had neutralized the previous strike's energy. Behind him, a hazy figure coalesced, no more than a foot tall, silver-white, halos swirling around a form that, on closer inspection, was that of a woman. She held a dagger that flashed up and stabbed at the god of arrogance's glabella. His eyes flickered. He lunged aside, slashing diagonally with the Asura demon sword. The sword rang with a crisp clang. It actually bounced back. A powerful pulling force gripped him. His body felt his muscles wither. His bloodline vigor was being consumed. "What the hell?" he roared, green lights flaring in his eyes. Gray airflow surged to resist the pull, but the dagger had already pierced his forehead. Silver-white light bloomed. The dagger stopped the instant it touched him. It could not advance another inch. Enraged, the god of arrogance struck out and sent the girl flying. Her light faded. Silver hair cascaded down her back. It was the Silver Dragon King, Guyuena. Qian Xunan looked at her. "Have you gained control of your body?" Guyuena nodded slightly. "Yes, I owe arrogance a thanks. After he wounded the Golden Dragon King, I was finally able to seize control." Qian Xunan met her gaze. "Then we must join forces against arrogance." She nodded, something softer in her eyes. Qian Xunan raised his spear and charged. Guyuena followed. Though Qian Xunan was a little stronger, together they could not let the god of arrogance escape. The silver dagger trembled. Countless silver sigils bloomed and entwined the god of arrogance, sealing his movements. Qian struck like a viper, spear flashing again and again. The god of arrogance snorted, and the Asura demon sword danced like wind. Each clash sent up great plumes of blood mist from Guyuena. "Guyuena, stop probing. Your body can't bear my power. Give it to me now, or none of us lives today." His voice was cold and commanding. "We won't lose." Guyuena spat. "Humph, let's see about that." He stepped in, and the Asura demon sword condensed into a jet-black blade that swept out. Bang! Xunan grunted, pushed back. His chest was scorched, but his god-slaying armor and rank 4 god power let him endure. The god of arrogance swelled into a 3-meter giant and punched Qian in the chest. Qian retreated again, but excitement glimmered in his eyes. Every collision dimmed the light on the god of arrogance. His aura was dropping. "Guyuena," Qian called. "All right," she answered. The dagger's light shifted. A gush of blood spurted from the god of arrogance's chest. He staggered. Qian seized the opening and struck him with the butt of his spear. Boom! The god of arrogance swayed, planted his foot, surged his aura, and grabbed Qian's wrist. Suddenly, the silver dagger vanished. In its place, a ball of pink flame fell from the sky and landed on the god of arrogance's back. The heat made him howl. He released Qian and staggered. Guyuena's eyes hardened, and a pink halo silently spread out. Under it, he froze for a moment. His speed slacked. Another strike pierced the inside of his thigh. "Ow!" he howled off balance. The Asura demon sword flew from his grasp, becoming a 10,000-foot river of blood, the river of Asura, his ultimate annihilating ability. Once unleashed, it would destroy all. The blood river surged forth, then came to an abrupt halt 100 meters from the ground, as if an invisible barrier blocked it. "How can this be?" the god of arrogance cried, horrified to find his attack obstructed by something beyond his body. In the distance, Qian Xunan had already drifted back. His spear was stained with the god's blood, but still shone brilliantly. "Arrogance, do you really think you've won?" he muttered, chanting quietly as ripples of light emanated from the spear. The god of arrogance's face twisted. He knew Qian's words were no empty boast. If he pressed the attack now, he might tear Qian apart, but Guyuena would not allow it. With a snarl, he chose caution and withdrew. "You won't get away." From Guyuena's dagger erupted an intense pink radiance that wove into countless silk-like threads, swarming toward the god of arrogance. He roared, curling his body into a tight ball. Clink, clink, clink. The sound of dense metal echoes filled the battlefield. Seizing the moment, Qian Xunan leapt up. His clothes burst apart in the motion. Blue-purple arcs of electricity traced over his muscular torso, making him look charged and ready. Every bit a warrior braced for the final push. End of this chapter.